Hello, good morning to everybody concerned out there. This is Dr. Gates 101. I just want to apologize for the first 45 minutes of this recording of our podcast. So we had having some wind problems in the microphone and all. And after 40 minutes, it should be resumed. Okay, I appreciate you guys for listening within the 45-minute period. First 45 minutes, please thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Donate to our Patreon, Dr. Gates 101, and enjoy the show, people. Have a nice day.
Okay, welcome everyone to episode number 98 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. Joining me is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry we're late, man.
Yeah, blame Dr. Games 101. It was his fault.
Yes, I know. Shame me to that.
Yes, I'll smack your hands with the ruler later.
Yes.
But anyway, since we're both here, I say let's start. Let's do what we do every 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Ready for the first story?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. There is one thing I do want to bring up. I don't know if people are gonna see this. I gotta fix something in OBS. But anyway, be nice if I had the right thing highlighted. Obviously, you know, some of the stories we cover are going to be a couple weeks old, or 3 weeks old, 4 weeks old. I bring that up because I uploaded the Escape from Tarkov, where we talked about the Unheard edition at $250. Not and someone actually clicked on that YouTube link or that clip and said this story is 3 weeks old, and I replied back to him, yeah, this podcast was recorded almost 2 weeks ago and clips are uploaded throughout the 2 weeks to YouTube, but thanks for the view. He also disliked the video, but that's why I decided to start off with this little rant. Yeah, the stories are old, but the thing is, you know, we also have small channels in the when you compare us to any other YouTuber or most YouTubers. So of course, if it gets uploaded, you know, just try to remember, you know, just because it just was uploaded to YouTube that day doesn't mean it was recorded that day.
Should make a little notice to everyone on each and every video we upload. Most of our videos are either dated or it goes back a few days. So.
Or I just should say from the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast in the comment section, maybe, or the video description.
Oh yeah, definitely. We do apologize to people that, you know, it's hard to keep track of news, obviously, but it's the fact that, you know, the time is so quick. You know, over the last several months, about years, the layoffs to the acquisitions and all. So, you know, it's hard to keep up with the news between Triple J and I. You know, we appreciate your patience for helping us understand that. You know, so.
Right. So anyway, I felt that was worth bringing up for the first story tonight. PlayStation cancels Helldivers 2 mandatory PSN sign-in requirement following player uproar. Last week, we saw a new policy change for Helldivers 2 on PC as a PSN account became a mandatory requirement to sign into the game. This announcement didn't go over well with the Helldivers 2 player base, and after the game was bombarded with thousands of negative reviews, Sony announced they had reversed course on this decision, for now. Helldiver fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which will have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward, Sony wrote in a statement on its official account. We're still learning what is best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans. Hint, we're just going to try this a different way on the next game. Sony's decision to enforce a PSN account requirement had major ramifications as Helldivers 2 was quickly delisted in 177 countries where PSN is not available. Arrowhead CEO Johan Heilstedt commented on the problem on Sunday, explaining that the studio was talking solutions with PlayStation behind the scenes. Originally, the PSN requirement was supposed to have been a part of the game when Helldivers 2 launched, but due to the overwhelming success the game had, it was postponed to a later date. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game, Hillstead wrote on Twitter. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirement, and we didn't talk about it enough. We knew for about 6 months before launch that it would be mandatory for online PlayStation titles. With the controversy seemingly over, and we know something else happened since that, Helldivers 2 players can expect to play around with several new Arctic-themed weapons in the Polar Patriots Warbond this month. Meanwhile, Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut, will launch May 16th, and a PSN account will only be required for its Legends multiplayer mode, and the new PlayStation overlay, developer Sucker Punch has confirmed. Yeah, I think Ghost of Tsushima is also not being sold in countries that don't have PlayStation Network. So it's also locking people out of the single player experience. So I do want to get into some comments. Let me upvote. Dido Trust goes, proud of my fellow Steamers. We at least stand up against what is not right. Other games just whine and do nothing. Steam and PC players are forced not to be reckoned with. It's not 2010 anymore. And Malachi goes, good, an unnecessary requirement. And Jim G81 goes, this is one of the major things that caused me to switch to PC gaming in the first place. People should not have to play online with their friends, period. The server upkeep should come from the devs after charging 70 fucking quid for a game. Okay, so what do you think about this? This is a small victory for now, but like I said, it's the Ghost of Tsushima, that's not even being sold to anyone in countries that don't have PlayStation Network capability, so it's like a small victory, but they're still trying.
Yeah, it's like a slow transition from putting everything in on every console type of moment. Because obviously many decades, not decades ago, but a couple of decades, not even ago, everything was exclusive to each platform. Everyone had their own system, their own network, their own form of perks of each game to play on each console. So it was all right at the time back then to do that stuff. But now for the last 5 years now, at least, we have crossplay in Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2019, and beyond. What I can see, at least my perspective, seems like a good thing at first to cross-play, cross-platform and stuff like that, all good. But then it starts to turn on this, this mesh like that with the PlayStation Network now. Because obviously, you had to play, in order to play on the PC, at one point, Helldivers 2, you had to have the PSN account. I'm like, wait a second, now I'm making any sense. And I did explain this to the younger gamers, so I go on the network with, guys, you don't see what we see, it's to a point where they're trying to combine everything together to make sure it's like this one whole network of players, and that's about it. And we don't go accept these walls, you want to call them, not paywalls, but these platform walls. It's kind of like it doesn't seem compute at first. It's just, I don't like that. In order to play on a PC at that PSN network, what's the purpose of having a PC then? He's supposed to be this ultimate platform of proper channels, proper availability where you don't have to have all these accounts in order to play online. It's not even 15 years ago when I started playing. What was before they went everything with digital on Steam and all, Steam powered. You go to Best Buy, you walk in there, Target, and they have a PC version, CD versions of the PC games, or DVD version of the games. And for $15, $20, you can play online with no matter what. So you have the CD key. Now everything's all behind these third-party EULA, they call them, what do you want to call them, the DRMs and stuff like that. And it's it's redundant. So I guess for security reasons, for sake of make sure people are not stealing content and all that, piracy and all. But at the end of the day, those people that you're gonna block that you want to call it from, they're not gonna buy your game. So it doesn't make any sense. I'll have to say it's pointless right now to do that. But I see they draw back that PSN accounts fiasco. So for now.
Yeah, I hate to say this, it does sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's basically conditioning. They're trying to condition the next generation into thinking it's always been this way, so there'll be no uprising. There'll be no opposition
Or even competition.
or competition. That too. Although I think that's kind of dumb. We'll get to what Xbox is doing, because honestly, I don't know if the requirement to be a Microsoft employee means you got had a lobotomy after a certain amount of time. But we'll get into that later. But back to this. It's basically, you know, once people say it's always been this way, you got it. You know, it's not always been this way, because like we said, even in the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, gaming online was niche at best. So they didn't have the ability to do these requirements, because you were only going to reach a niche amount of people, and those people were probably the ones who knew how to keep Dreamcast online once the servers provided by Sega went down. So it's kind of like you were going to reach that many people, and honestly, like I said, you know, it's like example number 3,560. Why I went back to retro. You know, I could play Final Fantasy 12. I could play Apocalypse. I could play Chrono Cross. I could play Max Payne 1 and 2. I could play all these games anytime I want, and I don't have to worry about this. So why would I put up with this? Not to mention after paying $70 for a game. You know, even though I have a good job, but you know, because I work like 40 hours a week. I get $15 an hour, and I do make commission. But still, I mean, just dropping $70 on a game when I got bills like keeping the power on, keeping the cable on, you know, it's not like we have just hundreds of dollars to spend on these games. So I mean, and it's one thing developers don't get. It's like there's I mean, they keep doing this. It's not gonna work out for them, because they will lose the people who can afford to do this, which is the older crowd. The younger crowd really can't do this. They gotta make money however they can. Chores, maybe a summer job if they can find one, but they're not gonna be getting all that money from older people who do have that money to spend, if they have it to spend. So, you know, and if that happens, you know, I've heard talks about a video game crash, but the thing is, what will be different between 1983 and 2024, or whenever it happens, is it's not going to affect every video game developer. The indie developers, the small developers, they're going to be fine. It's going to be the big developers with executives thinking live service is the way, and just let's make people link their accounts because then we can stroke our dick and it makes us feel good about our ego, it's the people that are making bad decisions that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
That's who it's going to affect this time around, if there is. Anything else, Ed, or ready to move on?
I just want to say though that especially with the copies of this, it has been going for the past several months now. You know, it's still getting worse and worse as time progresses. Overall, here in America, we can imagine how it is in other countries, but in the United States, people have to cut back on cost of money. They can't pay their debts anymore. They have to sell them. They want to adoption or go to the kennel. So, pet kills.
Yeah. So.
It's getting worse out there for us as people. Usually for the gamer, whether you're as old as 40 years old or as young as 20, 18 years old, it's they have to, these companies that are selling these games to us, they have to be sure to accommodate money from the company. So you can't just be like, oh, we know what you want out of gaming people, so let us go to a screw yourself game or something like that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I mean, that worked so well for the base Xbox. That worked so well for the original Xbox One.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft backpedaled, so I've never seen a company backpedal so fast.
Yeah. Like 20 years ago, they commented all the good desires of our game, whether it's the female characters or sex
That's another thing. It's not even developers. I don't want to blame them, but it's like the executives that are the people up top. Is like, we know what players want better than they do. Yeah, your financials don't really show that. We know what players want to play better than they do. By the way, this project lost us $200 million.
That's worse. It's like those Marvel movies were coming out last year. So there's another one that
Yes. So I mean, that's another thing, man. Like I said, we might talk about it later. I have to look up my sheet to see if I have an article that talks about it. But even if not, let's see, Suicide Squad debacle. Let's see, Square Enix. Okay, so I don't see it on my list of topics that we're going to talk about. But yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, okay, so I don't have it, but I'll just throw it in here. Since it's an update, Ghost of Tsushima, it's just not being sold to any country that doesn't have a PlayStation Network. Which is ridiculous because there's a single-player game that people could play if they didn't want to play multiplayer, but now if you live in a country that doesn't have PSN Network supported, you just can't play this game, period.
Yeah, it's tied in with the
Yeah.
You don't have to have a PSN to play PS3.
No, you didn't. I mean, you did if you wanted to play online. But I mean, the PS3 had a built-in. Well, at least the PS3 I have has a built-in online, so you don't really need to connect an Ethernet cable or anything like that. It can connect to Wi-Fi just fine. But the thing is, and obviously you can't reach online functions anymore. But back then, when it was available, when those servers were up, you could if you wanted to. You could play Red Dead Redemption, the first one, and never touch the multiplayer mode. Which, honestly, if that's how you played Red Dead Redemption, you missed out. But it was up to you. Now they're trying to force it, and it's just not going to be as easy as game companies think it is. I don't have anything else to say. Ready to move on? Okay. Next, Resident Evil 9 out early next year according to latest leaks. The next entry in Capcom's horror franchise may be less than a year away. It won't be too long until fans of Capcom's survival horror franchise will be able to play the next entry in the franchise. That's if the latest rumors about the inevitable Resident Evil 9 are to be believed. The new update comes from Dusk Golem, a prominent horror game leaker who previously released details on Silent Hill: The Short Message before its surprise release. In a thread to X, formerly known as Twitter, Dusk Golem claims that Resident Evil 9 will be revealed relatively soon for a 2025 release window. If what I heard previously holds true, the release should be in January, writes the leaker. While still not confirmed, the timeline makes sense given Capcom's release cadence for RE games has remained pretty steady since Resident Evil 7 in 2017. Since then, the publisher has released 4 major titles, either new entries or remakes every other year, with the most recent being Resident Evil 4 remake last year. 2018, 2022, and 2024 are the only years Capcom hasn't released a mainline title. In the thread, Dusk Golem claims that Resident Evil 9 originally started development in 2018, and around the same time Village went into development. Both titles were potentially going to be Resident Evil 8, with Village eventually claiming the title, while Resident Evil 9 stayed in development. That would mean that Resident Evil 9 will have had the longest development period of any game in the franchise to date. According to Dusk Golem, Resident Evil 9 will also have the biggest budget spent on any game in the series. In previous leaks, Dusk Golem claimed that Resident Evil 9 could potentially be a new, more open-world title. As for what other story or mechanics the game will have in store, Dusk Golem says they will let Capcom do their thing and surprise people. If the leaks are to be believed, then it seems likely we'll need only wait until the summer to see just exactly what Resident Evil 9 has in store for us. So how do you feel about this?
I think the original, I don't mind the adventures in the original games at all, but as the last 7 years now, it's been a little bit more excessive or lacking in creativity overall. Because they turn this into like DLCs, episodes, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, with Prison Revelations 2, of course, it was alright to play the first episode, or the first couple hours. I did years ago. But now it's like, can we please sum up the game now? Wrap this up, conclusive, like conclusion. That sounds redundant at first, but it's like, it's you can't keep this up for forever.
Well, who says he can't keep it going forever? Because keep in mind, Resident Evil first it started off with the Umbrella team. Chris, Jill, Wesker, and then you had the Darkside team, using the Wii games as teams here, which was like Leon's Adventures, Claire's Adventures, Ada's Adventures. So it's kind of like, and then with Resident Evil 7 and 8, they kind of just went in a completely different direction. There was no, the characters from 7 and 8 were never in Resident Evil 6, which was kind of like the big climax for those characters, by the way. So it's kind of, and also you gotta remember, 7 and 8 aren't exactly like 6 or 5 before in terms, it was kind of like a play on words, like Biohazard was, what was it? Resident Evil, I think Biohazard, and then like you saw the Roman numeral 7 hidden in there come out, and then like for Village, the I and the L and the L turned into the Roman numeral 8. It's kind of like Resident Evil reinvented itself since Resident Evil 7, I have to say. And if they got more ideas, why not? And honestly, I do think an open world Resident Evil game could work. They did it with Dead Rising.
Yeah, you're right. There's a great extent Dead Rising did a good job on. I played a few parts of that too. Personally, myself, it's just that as a original fan, since I was like 12, 11, 10 years old. I mean, now I'm 36, my 30s now. It's like, I feel so old now. It's been 25 years since the first Resident Evil came out. And I believe that it should have been a conclusion of that as early as Resident Evil 6 when they brought all the characters together. And they created Jake as the original son, the party. That was all right to have that. So I keep thinking about summing up in that game. They never really did too much of this sum up in Resident Evil 6. So I guess you could say that, continue for the 2 years. So that went to Resident Evil 9, but not really comes right. And it's like, I wish that this open world had been the last Resident Evil officially ended, to wrap it up. Because how many more times can you make the team like this? The C-virus from Resident Evil 6.
Well, they're not. That's the thing. Resident Evil 7 was a parasite mold. Resident Evil 8 was, that's the thing. It's, I would understand where you come from if we were still dealing with the T virus or the C virus. But when we're moving more, because it was originally the T virus for like the first 3 games, then 4 and 5 were more about a parasite, a parasite basically controlling the citizens, which is what made them so hostile. And then 7 was about a mold that made the bakers act like the way they did, murderous. Resident Evil 8, I did watch that. I can't remember Ethan. I couldn't remember the character's name. So Resident Evil 8 was kind of different. It had nothing to do with the mold, but they basically were. It's kind of confusing because, like I said, I didn't play it, but I watched someone do a whole Let's Play through the entire game, even the DLC. But Resident Evil 8, I don't know what was creating those creatures, to be honest. Now that I think about it. Yeah, but the thing is, my point is that it's different, and you would say maybe they're leeching off the Resident Evil name, but the thing is, these games are so good, they probably wouldn't get the recognition we would want them to get if they did change the name.
And Wesker died as always Resident Evil 5, so it's kind of like, supposed to be a character. He was the last of the experimenters behind the viruses.
Right.
Wesker, although he wasn't the founder of Umbrella Corporation, he was the head honcho and player in the creation of the virus. So it was still Dr. Murphy died, and Spencer died by Wesker's hand. It's kind of like they got to keep it going constantly, officially and gracefully. You don't want to force that story for stories, but make them just make that have
Yeah, so I'm just saying, Resident Evil 7 and I like I said, I saw the whole game straight through of actually 7 and 8, even DLC. They're pretty good. They're very good. So I just, I'd like to see them try an open world. It'd be something new. It's something that hasn't been done many times by anyone. So and the thing is, it's Resident Evil 8 Village kind of did have, well, I wouldn't say an open world, but they had like a very little area that's much bigger than any other Resident Evil game. Except maybe 7, because 7 was like a whole farm. That was acres and acres of land. So.
Yeah, I did play Resident Evil 7 for the first hour or so. It was pretty challenging at first, that kept dying over and over, just shooting himself in the head, and coming out there and trying to come after him too. What the hell, does he ever die? Like, I understand, he's invincible at one point. He shot himself in the head when you were in that car with him. It was kind of weird. It was like, hey, he survived that, man.
Well, he explains when because like you enter a bathroom and as you're about to leave, he finds you, grabs you by the neck, throws you back in, and as you look at him, you see his face regenerating. So he's like, hell of a gift, isn't it?
I remember that part, but okay.
Well, that wasn't in the first hour, so we probably didn't get that far.
Yeah, it was the part where I was in that second room after you put in those coins, the first set of coins, whatever
right.
you were going to. They came out of nowhere to get to that room after that.
Yeah, those coins actually end up being useful once you get into the RV on the because there's like an RV on the in the backyard, and like there you can use the coins to upgrade your health or upgrade your ammo capacity. So anyway, back to Resident Evil 9. Yeah, I'd love to see what they do with an open world.
Oh, yeah.
It can work with Dead Rising 3. I did have a problem with Dead Rising 3. I'm not gonna lie, but that was just because the characters and the story itself was just awful. Dead Rising. Yeah, it was all over the place, and just the characters were impossible to have that connection with. Because Frank West, lots of people. He's like the legend of Dead Rising. He's like the Link of what Link is to Zelda. Frank West is to Dead Rising. Chuck Green, people didn't take to him at first, but they did eventually warm up to him. And then they brought Frank West back as in Dead Rising 4, and that was the open world game. And I played Dead Rising 4 all the way through the main story, at least. I don't know if there was DLC. And like I said, that game was basically an open world, because you could go almost anywhere you wanted, but you still had places you had to get to by a specific time. But instead of being confined to a shopping mall, you were like in this little town where you could fight optional bosses and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I said, that's why I think an open world Resident Evil game would be awesome. Anything else to add, or ready to move on? Okay, next. Xbox is shutting down 4 studios, including Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Microsoft is folding studios at Bethesda. Xbox is shutting down 4 of its studios, including Windfall developer Arcane Austin and Ghostwire Tokyo developer Tango Gamer. As shared by IGN, Xbox executive Matt Booty sent out a company-wide email detailing upcoming studio layoffs. These changes are not a reflection of the creativity and skill of the talented individuals at these teams or the risk they took to try new things, says Booty in the email. I acknowledge these changes are also disruptive to the various support teams across ZeniMax and Bethesda that bring Apple games to market. We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. What games are those again, by the way? Arcane Austin will be closing, and Redfall's most recent update will be the last one ever for the game as its development comes to a close. Booty said that the servers will remain online, and Arcane Austin confirmed that those who purchase the premium editions of the game will be eligible to receive credit. Tango Gameworks is closing as well, which the studio has confirmed on Twitter. Hi-Fi Rush will still be available for purchase, and presumably its other titles, such as Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo, will still be available too. The 2 other studios impacted are Alpha Dog Games and Roundhouse Games. The former is mobile game developer, most known for Mighty Doom, and the latter studio was founded in 2019 after the closure of Human Head Studios. Roundhouse will also merge with the ZeniMax Online Studios. Arcane Austin has been relatively silent since the release of Redfall. Last week marked the 1-year anniversary of Redfall's launch, and fans noticed that its promised DLC characters hadn't been released yet. The round of layoffs comes shortly after Xbox already laid off 1,900 jobs back in January. So let's go to the comments. Sean McTwo257 goes, can't say I'm shocked. Redfall is really bad. Phil said they will support it last year, and now this. Honestly, Phil just can't be trusted. He says it just for the media and has no moral code. He should get replaced with someone else. BDRTEFM said in response, Money Pit. The idea that you think Spencer should be replaced after pulling Xbox out of the gutter is odd. Things change. Maybe the game is doing so badly it makes a little financial sense to keep supporting it if nobody is playing it. Companies tend to try and make money, not flush it away. And Ratman says in response to Sherman 2, I completely agree. I'm not qualified enough to look at the analytics for what Phil has accomplished thus far as CEO, but there are too many instances in which Phil has stated something in the media only to turn around and do something entirely different. I'm not going to link them. I understand the CEO of the 3rd largest gaming company in the world needs to embrace change, but often feels like he intentionally makes false misleading statements. I am a fan of the direction Microsoft is going. I just wish they had a CEO that I could trust. Okay, so I do want to bring something up, but first I want to get your response to Microsoft shutting down these studios.
Yeah, it's surprising. Of course, not surprising for certain people that Redfall games like Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, that was some of the best games of last year, and people still do it. Not the studios so much, but the Xbox as a whole. What a coincidence I have. We listened to a guy when he was before our podcast on explaining that Phil Spencer, when I had
You would think if I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you done? Okay. Yeah, one thing you would have thought, if they were going to spend billions of dollars or hundreds of billions of dollars on acquisitions for different studios, you thought there would have been a plan. I want to go back to the podcast that we had after it was announced that the sale of Activision Blizzard was going through with Microsoft. You know, everyone had approved it, even the UK. The US couldn't. People who were trying to stop it in the US weren't even going to get a second argument. So, you know, it was nothing was going to stop it. And we thought, man, what are all the games that we could see make a comeback that we never that we love? True Crime, Tony Hawk, just to name a couple. And this is what he does after he purchased it. I mean, I know you couldn't. You know, we're talking about like 40, 50 studios. Obviously, you couldn't bring games back from all of them. But just think, you know, what game has made such, like, from these studios has made a profit? Make a sequel, or at least try to think of a sequel. You know, and be like, okay, you know, the last game that made the best profit from these studios was True Crime. So, guys, True Crime. We already did New York and LA. What's the next biggest city that we can think of? You know, or hey, do a Tony Hawk. The reboot of 1 and 2 did really well. That collection that they put on different consoles. Do a Tony Hawk 6 or Tony Hawk enter subtitle here. That's what I would have done if I was Phil Spencer. I would have said, okay, you know, those properties you have, now they're ours. Which ones can we revive? I want sales figures. I want your properties. I want the game properties, by the way. I want sales figures, and I want to know the budget, and I want to see which games had the biggest return on their budget. And then the one that did have the biggest return, go back to that studio. Okay, what can we do to make a sequel or a remake if we can't make that's something that you could have done. And Phil Spencer did nothing, and no one else in power. I don't know if anyone else had the power to do that. No one else did nothing. It's like, what were you thinking? I mean, it's like buying. It's like if I don't want to make this example because I don't want to bring professional wrestling into it, but I guess I will. It's like the state of All Elite Wrestling right now. Tony Khan keeps purchasing wrestlers, and it's like, at most they have like 1 or 2 week interest, and then they just disappear, or their return or their first match won't happen for 8 more weeks. It's like where's the return on investment? You know, if I had the money to buy Activision Blizzard and I made everything, obviously, you know, Call of Duty was going to continue no matter what. But it's, you know, I would have went to every studio and said, okay, get me the IPs that you own, get me sales figures of the last game that involved those IPs, and get me the budget for those games. And then you could have gone to work saying, visiting those studios saying, or having web conferences with those studios saying, okay, you know, True Crime, people still love it. People still talk about it 20 years later. We did LA and New York. What location can we do next? Is it really that hard to think of?
They could have done Tokyo, but that was called Sleeping Dogs later on, so.
That was Sleeping Dogs. Yeah, that was going to be a True Crime game. But even then, Sleeping Dogs is what, 10 years old now?
Yeah. It was pretty good at the beginning, too. I played
yes.
that.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, so True Crime, okay, so Sleeping Dogs is True Crime Tokyo. But like I said, that's 10 years ago. Maybe it's time for another one. You know, True Crime Streets of Chicago, True Crime Streets of Texas, if you do like a heavy, you know, like Dallas or something, you know, some big city. True Crime, you know, and yeah, but the thing is, even the dumbest idea that we could think of, like True Crime Streets of Alaska or Antarctica, at least we're coming up with something. Yes, if someone did suggest True Crime Streets of Antarctica, they should be shown the door.
Yes.
But at least it's more what we just did in these last few minutes is more than what Phil Spencer did since this merger with Activision Blizzard went through, and now he's closing these studios. What was the point of buying them to begin with?
Well, I said eat too much and just didn't have enough to take as leftovers.
But I mean, it's kind of but it's. I hate to. I'll try to do a sports analogy. It's like when you give all the best players like these high priced contracts, and then you maybe use these players one game out of the season. It's like, it's like no, it's not just Tim Tebow and Tom Brady and I'm sorry, I just don't know football.
Robert Griffin III, RG3.
Yeah, it's like you spent all the money to get these players. You were able to get all of these players, and we saw them maybe in one game each. That's not really a good use of the contract money. So, and that's what Phil Spencer did with these acquisitions. I'm almost sorry to say I wish the Activision Blizzard hadn't gone through at this point.
Yeah, it was a bad move in the long term. In the short term, obviously. Phil Spencer took a calculated risk, but he took way too much of a calculated risk, and he forgot to back himself up or get other people behind him to advise him on what to do with these companies that they're acquiring over the last 5 years. Whether it's as small as Arcane Studios or as big as Activision Blizzard. And,
I mean, he could have at least had ordered these people who had their IPs still do a collection and find out, or do a collection of these games or release them digitally and find out which ones still are getting interest. If they release True Crime Streets of LA and New York, say for the Xbox on Xbox Live or Xbox Network as they call it, and lots of people were buying those games digitally, obviously that would meant there was interest. You could have gauged interest that way. But Phil Spencer just, I guess he was lighting cigars with hundreds. I don't know.
Yeah, imagine that.
Maybe. I mean, like you said, he spent all this money and there was no forward plan. What was the point? That's like a kid buying. That's like a kid who plays with the pro wrestler action figures, and he takes them out of the package and uses them once. It's like, but he keeps buying more and more, and it's like you played with that once. That was $18 well spent.
Yeah.
So that's just what I'm. It's just like what was the plan here, and I'm starting to think they just had no plan.
Yeah, it sucks that if I was in that company in the Xbox brand, I would definitely be a good advisor to Phil Spencer, and I would tell him to either hold off on Activision Blizzard and stick with the other smaller studios, and then build up revenue, build up profits, build up anything else in between. And then you go after Activision Blizzard, let's say 7 years, 6, 7 years from now, after that built up, make sure you have extra income, extra cash,
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, I think we're gonna get into what Xbox is doing, which is why I think they're handing out lobotomies at least to the top guys that work there. So maybe we should save that for that story.
Indeed, yeah, you're right.
Ready to move on?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Next. Okay. Oops, wrong. Redfall won't get promised DLC. All updates are done. Redfall servers will stay online, but the game will get no further updates. Microsoft is shutting down a number of Bethesda studios, including Arcane Austin, and related to that has the company announced that development will not continue on Redfall. Redfall was released in May 2022 behind a cold critical reception. Bethesda sold a hero pass that would give player 2 DLC characters, but they never were released and they never will be. Anyone who bought the Bite Back edition for $100 that includes the Hero Pass will be eligible to receive the value of the upgrade, Arcane said. People who played Redfall via Game Pass were able to buy an upgrade that included the Bite Back edition content for $33.50. You can follow this link to get information on how to claim your credit. The studio also clarified that Redfall servers will remain online. The game will receive no further updates. To everyone that supported the work from our Austin studio over the years, thank you. Thank you for spending time in our world and making them your own, team said. Arcane Lion is staying open and will continue developing its new Blade game based on the Marvel character. Following the difficult launch of Redfall in May 2023, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer commented on the game's shortcomings. There's nothing more difficult to me than disappointing the Xbox community, Spencer said. I'm upset with myself. Spencer went on to say that Arcane Austin didn't hit their own internal goals for Redfall and that Microsoft didn't do enough to work with the studio on the game following the acquisition of Bethesda. We were too late to help. I take that as a learning, as painful as it is, he said. After Redfall's rocket launch, Spencer said the company was committed to releasing additional updates to the game, including the highly anticipated 60 frames per second update. The update arrived in October alongside a huge host of fixes and other changes. In addition to Arcane Austin, Microsoft is closing, well, we went over these studios. So let's just get to the comments. Let's see. LOLZU Mad Bro goes, yay, another talented studio gone because they forced to make lousy live service games by a big publisher. Lion2447 goes, there's nothing more difficult to me than disappointing the Xbox community, Spencer said. I'm upset with myself. BS factor of 10. Guess even making a good game is no guarantee of not being shut down. Hi-Fi was a winning success, and this is what the developers get for it. And Execution goes, imagine killing the developers of the only good game you published all generation. Rest in peace, Tango. I hope Microsoft sells off the Hi-Fi Rush IP. And yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean, when they were reading what Phil Spencer said, it's kind of like, yeah, bullshit. I mean, Redfall and Starfield, I think they were doomed from the start, to be honest.
Or Starfield just be mediocre at best.
Yeah, but I mean, he there's nothing he hates more than disappointing. Well, you've been disappointing people for years. I mean, you know, like Dr. Games 101 said, Major Nelson left, and he was there since like the beginning.
Yeah, the first ever Xbox.
So like, if someone like that left and they didn't leave because of health issues or whatever, or retire, then you're just taking the company into a nosedive. It's kind of. I do want to bring up something that was in the article, if I can get back to it.
And if I can say this, Major Nelson, he was the very first and only person of the podcast for these 22 years. Now all of a sudden took a hiatus for a few weeks or whatever, and now it's these new people altogether I never heard of. Then I don't connect with them on the podcast show, so it kind of sucks. You know, it's disappointment. You know, just one example of Major Nelson's features or his status in that company. You know, he's not some nobody. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to go back to that quote. There's nothing more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community, Spencer said. I'm upset with myself. The next thing Phil Spencer probably said is, Naughty Dog open for sale yet? Because, I mean, it seems like that's all Phil Spencer knows how to do is spend money on buying studios.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, honestly, like I said, I think I said it best when I said, you know, I'm almost wishing the Activision Blizzard merger purchase didn't happen.
Yeah, so we're starting to regret it.
So and like they said, Hi-Fi Rush was successful, and they still shut that studio down.
And I forgot to mention this part. If I can say this, I forgot to mention this that what Griffin found out about what Phil Spencer said. He says because of capitalism, that's what we feel as well. There was an article about that not months ago, but a few weeks ago. So it was funny as hell I heard that.
So yeah, so well,
Capitalism, yeah.
capitalism.
Right. He's taking the commies on his side.
Ugh.
He gave it commies at least, We'll continue on Triple J. I'm sorry.
No, it's just I want to start banging my head against a wall. I mean, this is why I probably would not work at Microsoft, because Phil Spencer would probably fire me in the first week.
Probably fire me the first day after talking about like different ideas.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, it's the economy. You think, but see, Nintendo's not suffering. They're the only ones that are actually doing good right now. They're not making anything boneheaded, although they have in their past. But looking current day, you know, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, you've both been in this for 20 years. It's time to get your shit together, or just close up shop on your game division. And I don't want them to close up shop, because I don't want Nintendo to be the only one around. Because, like I said, they've made awful decisions too, not too long ago. But I mean, what is this? I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, give the reins to someone who will. Like I said, you still have all these studios, by the way, and the only thing you've done since you acquired them is shut some down.
They have 10,000 workers together in Microsoft as well.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's return on investment. How are you going to get the return on this investment?
And Redfall, I mean, it did also horribly because not only because the game was crap, but also the story was crap too. And when you try to emphasize on the visuals, when I saw gameplay from what's his name again? He calls himself Penguin, also known as Voice Critical on Twitch TV. And when he recorded the streaming of Redfall, you can see the skyline of Redfall town itself. It looked atrocious. It looked horrible, man. It was that bad. We were laughing, all of us, in the chat rooms and all. I was like, "What is going on here?" And the skylight was all over the place, and it doesn't look as realistic. It just looks cartoony. It was that bad. So it's
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you're making bad games. That's why. I mean, but like I said, you know, you still have a whole lot of studios you didn't shut down yet. Maybe you should find out what people still have an interest in from those studios that you own the IPs for, and get a remake or a reboot or a sequel done.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Game one doesn't like sequels, but like we said, there's a difference between Resident Evil and True Crime.
Yes. and I don't know if I'm not speaking off topic properly, but even games like Fear Effect was a reboot or a remake of the matter, and that's got canceled as of last year. And I think it involves some of the Xbox studios with that matter too. So, you know, it's not looking too good for the game industry as a whole, based on what Xbox did for the last couple of years now. So.
Yeah. So I mean, so it's just amazing how Phil Spencer is starting to act like that guy at the executive at WB who was in charge of Rocksteady. Mm-hmm. When they did Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game. Oh, but don't worry. If you were looking forward to the Blade game, that's still coming. Yeah, a game based on the superhero Blade.
Yeah, the trilogy was all right back 10 years ago. Plus, that was a good movie trilogy. I mean, Blade 3 was horrible in of itself, but at the franchise, the series as a whole, the movie itself, you know, thanks to Wesley Snipes, you know, those good movies. But now they're fucking them further if they're trying to do a remake of a movie again too. So. Yeah,
and I mean, I used to have the first Blade for PlayStation. I never sat down and played it long enough. It's the one that has the same cover as the movie itself. Mm-hmm. But you know, it's kind of like. But my point with Blade is, who honestly, who gives a fuck about Blade? Do you hear anyone in any gaming circle saying they can't wait for another game on Blade? But that's what Microsoft wants to keep open. That's what Microsoft wants to keep working on. That's what Phil Spencer wants to continue putting his time towards. Stupid, stupid, stupid!
It's Phil Spencer's theme song should be going. My chosen torture makes me stronger. Like from Devil May Cry 3, you know. It's torture himself.
If you look in the dictionary and look up "stupid," you'll probably see Phil Spencer's picture. If you don't, you should.
I mean, Phil Spencer's not should be that stupid. I mean, he made a.
Well, he's certainly acting like it. He's certainly acting like it.
I mean, he's like the I wasn't the poster child, but he was like the in the first couple of years of his tenure as head of Xbox, he was still good at first to whatever he was doing back 10 years ago. But, you know, we kind of respected his accomplishments at the time back then. So,
yeah, but he didn't say Xbox had lost the console war. He didn't start caring about Game Pass and nothing else.
Yeah. Maybe it was just a faith in himself at first. You know, it's just that. He made one too many mistakes and it started to hinder on his tenure at the Xbox place sooner or later. So
yeah. So anyway, ready to move on?
Yes, we have to torture more for this virtual war.
Well, actually, we already talked about the Redfall that was set to receive a big offline update. So I'm just gonna skip that.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect Dark reboot is allegedly in bad shape. The game was announced back in 2020. The Perfect Dark reboot that was announced for PC and Xbox Series is reportedly experiencing some shaky development woes right now. Jeff Grubb took time on yesterday's Giant Bombcast to speak about the upcoming Xbox projects. These included Perfect Dark, and things are apparently not looking good. The fallout from layoffs, been hearing for years that Perfect Dark is in a rough state. It sounds like it's in a very rough state, he said, and it doesn't sound like it's really come together in any way since the announcement, and Crystal Dynamics coming on board to come help on that. Xbox allegedly doesn't know if it wants to take the first-person shooter route for Perfect Dark reboot either. The series has historically been a first-person shooter with the exception of the top-down, isometric Game Boy Color prequel. The Perfect Dark reboot was announced back in 2020 and still seemingly early in development. In 2021, Crystal Dynamics joined the initiative to help out with development. When Crystal Dynamics went through layoffs last year, it ensured that Perfect Dark's development wouldn't be affected. Fans are worried about Xbox's status given that Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog Games, and Roundhouse Studios were shut down yesterday. Several developers voiced their concerns too, such as Moon Studios CEO Thomas Mahler. Moon Studios, the developer behind the Ori series, avoided acquisition talks by larger publishers due to potential layoffs and closure. Okay, so again, let's look at some comments about this. Joe Collin goes, not surprising one bit. This and Fable will probably get canceled or remain in development hell for years and release in a very bad state if they release it at all. I'm not an Xbox hater by any means, but Microsoft has officially proven that they are incompetent and have no clue what they're doing. Hallelujah! Yes, I agree. Their list of canceled games and bad games keeps piling up. They are an utter joke at this point, setting themselves up for yet another failed console launch when the new systems come out. It's time for change. Microsoft, get your shit together. Couldn't have said it better. Moogie Star goes, wow, Microsoft either shutting down studios or the game's in bad shape. What the fuck, man? Now that I'm basically an Xbox owner because I have a PS5, I'm invested in these things. And Attire X goes, every video game on Earth ever planned canceled, and every game dev on Earth laid off, and all gaming companies closed in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So, were you a fan of the Perfect Dark series that started on Nintendo 64?
Yeah, I have a copy of the Perfect Dark on Nintendo 64 as well. Also, now I have a copy of that. I also have a copy of the prequel, Perfect Dark Zero, for the Xbox 360, and that's okay. I played the first level of that game many years ago, so I have a copy to this day of the N64 as well as the Xbox 360 prequel, and also the remaster version, or we'll call the remake version of the 2010, what is it, 2010, 2011, or 12 remake or reboot of the game as well. So they actually touched it up the graphics of the X64 and only put on the Xbox 360. I have a copy of that as well. So the more power to that franchise for keep on preserving these type of games. But now
I gotta ask about the Perfect Dark on. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do have a question about Perfect Dark on N64. Is it me, or was it really hard to get the game to work on N64 when it first came out?
You see the expansion pack on to play the multiplayer. That's all.
Oh, okay. No, but like even to play the single player, it seemed really hard to get the game to work.
No,
And my N64 has an expansion pack, so
no, I had no problems with it. It was challenging, obviously.
right.
But
I wasn't talking about the difficulty of the game. I was just talking about getting it to function. But that's another thing. Perfect Dark, yeah. For people who didn't have a chance to play it, putting it on Game Pass was great. But
I don't know if it's on Game Pass. I'm not sure, but definitely it's on the Xbox 360 to download from the store right now.
Well, it was on Game Pass if it's not anymore.
Okay.
Because that's how I played it.
Okay. Yeah. The remaster. So.
Okay. How would you feel about Perfect Dark if they stopped being a first-person shooter?
I don't know. It doesn't seem. I mean, it would be very different atmosphere altogether. Personally, myself, if this reboot is already sounding is in bad shape, it's going to be a bad launch at that as well, like the Redfall. So at this rate, what they should do is roll back on the timing, like the release of the game, and then like just cut off the release date and just start from scratch. And then hopefully by the end of the life cycle of the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, wherever these systems are coming out on, then you can release it on around that time. That's how I look at it.
Right.
Because we still got another 3-4 years of the Xbox Series X and S and PS5, and Nintendo Switch gave it up for years, but a PlayStation and Xbox have been around since 2020, the generation of the current gen.
So I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, this also is why I have no interest in getting an Xbox Series, even if I could afford it and not think about it.
Yeah, it's okay to have for performance, better performance of your games and all that you currently have on Xbox One and 360 and all. But if you want something different altogether, I would just get the PS5, which I'm planning on getting the PS5 from a friend in Florida for about less than $500. So I'm trying to discuss about the shipping and all. So
yeah, but I'd rather get it. I'd rather get a 360 or a Sega Saturn or something like that. I mean, like I said, it's everywhere you turn. There's bad news.
Yeah.
I mean, how could a gaming studio that's been around since like the early 2000s be in such disarray with everything that they release?
Yeah,
I mean,
it seems as exciting as it used to be too. Like we were back in the day with the Xbox 360 as well as the Xbox original, PS2, PS3, and all. It was like people waiting in line for launch night back in those days to get the copy of those systems and all. Now it's like you just gotta get permission in 2020. It was weird. One of the weirdest launches ever for both Series X and as well as PS5.
Yeah, I mean, most people were buying like collection, like the NES, and the SNES, minis, just so they could have something to play, or they'd maybe get a Sega Genesis and get like a bunch of games that they grew up playing, because people were stuck in their homes for so long, back in 2020. So it's just these studios. I've already said it once, but like I said, why would you change what people know Perfect Dark to be? They even said that top-down isometric game was a prequel. You would expect the prequel of Perfect Dark story to be different. That's fine, but I don't want to see even though I have like very little experience with Perfect Dark in my childhood, I don't want what I know about Perfect Dark to change.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if they're gonna change it, maybe it's better that it just stays in development hell.
Yeah. because we never really see Agent Johanna as like like that Lara Croft's Tomb Raider, but she has that kind of style or that essence that we kind of remember of that character and all. So if they try to change up too much from that character for the sake of like SJW's sake or these terms are for like these buzz terms for like inclusion and all, then just leave it as is. Don't fuck it up. Please. There are too many IPs being fucked up now for the last 7 years. And the last 7 years is Agent Johanna to be fucked up even further,
Yeah, I mean, Agent Johanna was never really, I have to admit, in terms of gaming women, like, because you brought up Lara Croft, she was never really a looker.
Right.
But I mean, it's like, but she was a woman that could kick ass and do the job of a secret agent. Now, so it's almost changing the genre of the game. That's not perfect art. And like I said, if that's where they're gonna go with it, maybe it's best we get nothing at all. Leave the perfect dark games that we have alone. If you're just gonna shit all over.
Yeah, we need perfect dark, not perfect toilet.
Yeah. I can't say it better myself than that. So, Eddie, I have nothing else to add. That just summed it up perfectly.
Yes.
Anything else to add?
That's all I gotta say for the matter.
Okay, so moving on. Okay, speaking of toilets, EA considering in-game advertising will take thoughtful approach. EA previously sold in-game ads for its sports games and Battlefield 2142. EA CEO Andrew Wilson has said in-game advertising could become a meaningful driver of growth for the company's bottom line. Speaking during the company's latest earnings briefings, Wilson said it's still early on that front, and if this is something EA does decide to push further into, the company will be thoughtful about it. In 2008, Barack Obama's campaign paid EA to put political ads in Burnout Paradise to try to get people to vote for him. Prior to that, 2006 Battlefield 2142 and Need for Speed Carbon featured in-game ads. In 2007, EA signed a deal with an ad company to bring in-game ads to Madden, Tiger Woods PGA Tour, NHL, and NASCAR games, as well as Skate. Wilson said during the earnings call that for any future in-game ad campaigns, EA will try to be very thoughtful about how they might be implemented. As we think about the many, many billions of hours spent both playing, creating, watching, and connecting, and where much of that engagement happens to be on the bounds of a traditional game experience, our expectation is that advertising has an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us, he said. We'll be very thoughtful as we move into that, but we have teams internally in the company right now looking at how do we do very thoughtful implementations inside of our game experiences. Wilson was specifically discussing in-game ads in the content of more traditional AAA games, and not necessarily mobile where ads of all types are more commonplace. EA's business is already booming as the company just reported a full-year profit of $1.273 billion on $7.5 billion in revenue. EA laid off more than 600 people and canceled games earlier this year, including a Star Wars first-person shooter. It's not just EA looking into game ads. In 2023, SCS Software announced that it sold ad space inside American Track Simulator to the trunking company Schneider National. In 2012, Square Enix launched a browser-based gaming service that allowed users to play games for free with ad breaks. So let's look at the comments section. Coffee Eye goes, EA is hot garbage. They care very little of their customers. I'll give you an example. EA FC 24 and its packs. They are selling packs in the game for $25 in FIFA points. For those that say you don't have to buy it to play, I say you're right. However, that's not the point, and clearly you don't get it. They prey on their customers. It's pretty gross. Mountainut goes, fuck EA. They're never thoughtful about anything but fucking over consumers to boost shareholder profits. Why did you censor the first word and then still put fucking over? I mean, And Gamer Boy 100 said in response to that, I guess moderators are letting profanity slide now, eh? I mean, I do agree with you. I'm just puzzled by the fact that your comment is still here. Okay, so do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, because I'm not going to tear this apart like Dr. Games 101 was expecting, probably. It's no. Hear me out. In sports games, I can see it. You know, if you're in sport, whether it's UFC, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, whether it's hockey, you name it. You know, have on the wall, or like in UFC, have on the mat, or the court, you know, as graphics on the court or whatever. Have what you want to advertise. That's fine, because that's kind of, I hate to say it, that's kind of like, especially in UFC games, that's more like the real product that we see. You know, in UFC, like you see like 10 different logos on the ground on the mat, because of all the things that they're advertising and getting advertising revenue from. So, you know, if UFC, like if they wanted to do that in a UFC game, I'm not sure if EA owns it, but that's, I would have no problem with that. I'd say, hey, it's more realistic. And if they want to do that with baseball, basketball, hockey, and every other sport, name it. If it's a driving game and you want to just have a street sign advertising something, that's fine. That's not because. But at the same time, I just don't expect EA to stop there, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
We pay $70 for games, and now we're going to be paying to possibly have ads interrupt the game experience. That's when it gets intrusive. So yeah, and I think that's what most people are thinking. They're not going to stop where it's noticeable and where you can actually say, well, that's kind of realistic, especially with what companies do. You know, you always, like when you play a baseball game, you always see on a like a billboard something being advertised, even if it has nothing to do with the baseball game. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But I just, like I said, I don't expect EA to stop there. What's your feelings on this?
It goes to advertisement in games. If you pay full price for the game, or most games, like sports games, I can understand that having some sort of sponsorship, advertising type of lingo going on and about. Obviously, you talk about there's a lot of emphasis in that department of the advertisement in those games and all. But other games like Crash Bandicoot, or perhaps games like Street Fighter, those type of games, like we really don't want to have in-game advertisement in those type of games. I really don't want to do that. And especially if you paid how much money for it, like $70, it's $80. Hell, even the deluxe edition for $120, $110, whatever it is now here in the United States. I can't imagine how it's in Canada and other parts of the world. You know, that's stupid. It's like, who wants to spend hundreds of dollars for see advertisements in their games? You know, and
yep.
You know, you cross the line on the sports things, on sports games, obviously, because you're paying full price for those games as well. Especially if you want to get the deluxe edition or the ultimate edition. You know, that's a little bit. You know, if you want to pay for like see no ads, that's a little cross the line there too. So the point is, you know, don't include ads into in game. Like if it's think of like on the Xbox dashboard or PlayStation dashboard, whatever. Okay, 1 or 2 advertisements, obviously, because you want to promote a certain game or a certain package, a Game Pass or the PlayStation's, their game version of their Game Pass. You know, that type of stuff. I understand that, but that's it. You know, I don't want no more. I don't want advertising for Subway sandwiches in like in a game like Bandicoot. I mean, I like to eat footlongs all day long and at any given time of the day, you know, but I don't want to be like jumping in midway into across the pond or whatever, and I see like an advertisement for like Hardee's, and you see a nice skeleton woman selling that burger to you. I mean, oh well and good, but at the wrong timing. I mean, that's a little too much right there. Come on now. And you know about me, Dr. Games saying that stuff about the matter. So.
Well, I mean, just think about. Like I said, I was even willing to accept it one step further. You want to put Subway like on a UFC mat, that's fine. Or if you want to put Subway like on a street sign that you pass by in, say, the next driving game, whatever it be, Burnout or otherwise, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But you know, like if my game all of a sudden stops and I have to sit through like a minute advertisement, like I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm gonna get upset.
Especially
So,
the price for the game.
especially, yeah. I mean, what's next? They're gonna start charging us for no ads this edition. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be fucked up.
it costs more than the deluxe edition. So it's, yeah. So I mean, like I said, I know I have no problem with this. My only problem is I don't trust EA of all companies to stop before it becomes a problem.
Oh yeah. And at one point, EA used to be able to cover the tours from the Medal of Honor games, and I think it may be Tomb Raider. I'm not sure, but definitely Medal of Honor. Like, you know, they did their best these back like 30 years ago. I put advertising games all together, especially in the games like that of sports and all that stuff like that. Even though games like was an NBA Live '98, you know, that's the game. That's the game I played constantly as a sport game. You know, they didn't have advertisements like that in the game, so you know, why now? And
Right.
if you like get to the sports games, eventually go into the platform games, then the action adventure games, then the puzzle games. You know, I'm only playing chess with my friend online, and all of a sudden, you know, 30 minutes of the game, they'll still have an advertisement like Subway, eat fresh. Oh, buy one get one free. You know, and I'm like, dude, I don't want that shit in my chess game. You know, it's stupid. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, exactly. I definitely agree. So that's
It's too much. Like, I mean, I see want to sell products and people want to consume your products and all that in a long term and all, but you know, you already have enough for TV, radio, magazines, online ebooks and stuff like that. That's fine to some extent. You know, that's how it is for the last 70 years, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever. Because these layouts of these types of mediums, what I call them. But now in video games, which is a medium in itself, yes, but not in game. Like that's a little too much right there, you know.
not to mention they would have a point if it was like a free to play game. If they did this like instead of microtransactions, you know, if you want to play this game for free, you could play the story all the way through, but every half hour you got to sit through ads. Okay, you're playing the game for free. You know, they do that with movies on YouTube. You know, some movies you can watch straight through, and if you're willing to watch ads for free, you don't even need a YouTube membership. That's fine. But like I said, I'm not paying $70 or more for a game and then gonna sit through ads.
Yeah, you might as well pay us at this rate.
Yeah.
Us gamers.
Anything?
You know?
Yeah. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I just want to say one more thing though. It's anti-consumer in the long run. Like it may be like a pet peeve in the first couple of years, 3 years, or whatever it is for sports games and all. But within the next 10, 20 years from now, if it goes mainstream or in a consistent manner, then the younger gamers are going to look at this as this normative, like what microtransactions as a whole we see now. Because 20 years ago, microtransactions wasn't a big thing, and for most gamers that have experiences with it, certain games like Tomb Raider, for example. Back during Tomb Raider in the 1990s, late 90s or 2000s, you have these additional discs to buy later on. That's like $5-10 more or whatever. Like the unfinished business for Tomb Raider 1, like that was an extra like what $5 or $10 for the edition or whatever. But that was back then. That was like already built into the game, whatever. But now it's like, like I said, you're crossing some lines after that. That's all I got to say. So.
Okay. Yeah. So, So ready to move on?
Yeah, we'll move on.
All right. Next. Xbox reportedly considering bringing Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 to PS5. That's the other thing Microsoft knows how to do: bring their games to the competition.
Yep.
Senua's Stage Hellblade 2 hit Xbox Series X and S and PC later this month on May 21st. However, its release arrives at a rocky period for Xbox, which just shuttered 4 Bethesda studios, including Hi-Fi Rush, Team Tango Gameworks, and Redfall developer Arcane Austin. As a result, Xbox players have wondered how safe Hellblade 2 developer Ninja Theory might be after its sequel's release, given Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for the company, but wasn't enough to keep Tango open. Perhaps to help boost Hellblade 2 sales, Xbox is reportedly considering bringing the game to PlayStation 5, according to The Verge. The publication's Tom Warren writes, I understand Hellblade 2 is another game that Microsoft has been considering for the PS5. If that happens at this point, it's not clear if even that would be considered a success. Hellblade 2 coming to PS5 wouldn't be out of left field, considering Xbox has brought previously exclusive games like Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush to PS5 this year. However, with the launch of Hellblade 2 happening in just a few weeks, it seems, or a few days from now, it seems as if it does come to PS5, it will be post-launch, which lines up with Xbox's strategy in the realm thus far. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 hits Xbox Series X and S and PC on May 21st. Do you hope Xbox brings Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 to PS3? Let us know in the comments section below. So let me get to those comments. So I can't sort them, I don't think. So, oh, yes, best. Okay. Punchin_butterflies goes, rest in peace, Ninja Theory. Doesn't matter if it sells well and on PC. It won't be enough, apparently, as both Microsoft and Sony have shown. Crazy how both of them can spend billions acquiring, but don't have enough to keep other studios open. Granted, Microsoft is doing this on a much more ridiculous scale. Sony still closed a studio and let others go in other studios that were releasing games that sold well. Shame seeing greed among others, turning this hobby life that's been loved for years by millions, billions probably, into nothing else but profits growth by any cost for shareholders who don't even really give a fuck about the industry. Tom Bomb goes, I barely ever paid for Xbox Game Pass. I used a 1-month trial recently and barely found anything interesting I wanted to play, and I still have 2 1-month trials waiting to be used. I will likely activate it when Hellblade 2 comes out so I can give the game a try. I suspect a lot of people are like me. They'll probably use a free trial they got somewhere. Some might get 1 month of Game Pass to play the game, but needless to say, Microsoft are unlikely to make any money by releasing that game on Xbox. Have they now started to figure out how Game Pass, the genius idea, was actually the final nail in Xbox's coffin? How will they ever make enough money to cover AAA development for all those studios they bought if they just put them on Game Pass? Maybe they found their answer. Release their games on PS5. That'd be cool. They should put all their games on PS5. That will work out nicely for me, LOL. And I gotta include this comment. Mike goes, too bad PS5 won't put some of their games on Xbox. So, yeah, what do you think about this? I mean, what's the difference between this and like Sea of Thieves is Sea of Thieves has been out for years. This game hasn't even come out on Xbox yet, and they're thinking of bringing it to PS5.
Well, if I could say this though, they did it with Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, as a time exclusive on the Xbox, if I recall correctly, or other titles of other games. They did that too with time exclusives too. So this is no different to some extent. That's why it's not like within a matter of weeks after its release. It could be like a year from now, 2 years from now, and then release on the PS5, obviously. So do something.
But that's not what it sounds like. It sounds like they're thinking of getting this game on PS5 soon.
That's a bad move. It wasn't a bad move, but it's bad. Yes, of itself, of Xbox sent it to PlayStation, Sony, and all. It's like you're not really, you help your competition out at the same time. It's kind of like, I hate to say this though, that some of these younger gamers, like, you're wrong. Have everything on every platform. It just doesn't make any sense. There's competition to be made between these companies and systems. If you put every game on every other game on every other system, it's like, I think I mentioned this at least a couple of times over 3 years, 4 years of doing our podcast and all. It just doesn't make any sense of having a competition of the thereof. While a monopoly is wrapping up every one of these systems, and I'll try to explain that. This is what happens in the long term, and now we're starting to see its rear ugly head. It's like it's looking bad on among the systems now. The Nintendos, the Sony's, PlayStations, and now Xbox, Microsoft. It's like, I hate to say this, but they creating themselves creating themselves bad business moves for quite some time now, and you gotta stop doing it before it's too late. If not, and Microsoft, of course, yeah, Microsoft's a $3 trillion company. How are you gonna lose money or be out of business so quickly? But move after move, more exclusive to inclusive. It looks horrible, more horrible day by day to year by year now. I don't want that to happen right now, but it's going to happen. This clusterfuck, I like to call it. 'Cause if I was a game company, I would find some way to keep on to my IPs on my systems. I would not give it to Sony, PlayStation, or Nintendo, or any of these companies like that. I'm in competition with them. But younger gamers, I know people say younger gamers, but it's like they don't see the competition thereof in business. It's all about inclusive and we are one, holding hands, kumbaya. I'm like, it doesn't work like that in the real world,
Well, yeah. I mean, I gotta say, with games like Sea of Thieves, I understood it because the thought process was, if someone was going to buy it on Xbox, they would have bought it on Xbox by now.
Yes.
But Phil Spencer, was this another one of your moves to bring your games to Xbox and not get anything in return from PlayStation? I don't know what some good PlayStation exclusives are right now, but I'm sorry?
Knack for PS4.
Okay, so I mean, I'll just go with what I know. Uncharted, Medieval. You didn't think maybe we'd get those games on Xbox and try to use the same psychology by saying, hey, listen, anyone who you were going to sell Uncharted to on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 would have bought it already. Why not bring it to Xbox if we're bringing Sea of Thieves over?
Yeah.
You could have done something like that, and then really turned PlayStation into a partner. But if I was at PlayStation, I would have been like, sure, bring your games over. It's not like I have to give anything in return.
See what I mean, guys? Like you can't just just take everything and give it to your competition or to your enemies. I mean, that's like I don't understand the logic and reasoning. Like, I mean, if you want to break it down to like a form of like friendships and all, you can't get along with everyone. Everyone's not gonna be your friend. And you're gonna have some enemies at the end of the day. It is what it is. I try to tell that to some of the gamers out there that I hang around with whenever I can. I'm like, I'm not gonna be friends with all your friends. That's not how it doesn't work. Like, I don't know who they are. And that's how it is. You can't just be like that's what fucking my Xbox is doing right now with Senua Blade. It doesn't make any sense in the long run.
So I mean, so it's kind of like, I understood the reasoning behind it. They thought, if anyone was going to buy Sea of Thieves on Xbox, it would have been, they would have bought it by now. So they bought it to PS5, hoping to get more sales. But was this the also brainchild of Phil Spencer by not getting anything in return?
Yeah.
Like I said, PlayStation has been just around as long as actually they've been around longer than Xbox. PlayStation came out like 98, 99, I think, in North America. At least in 99, I know they were out.
And 94 in Japan for PlayStation, yeah.
So I mean, you're telling me in all that time, of all the franchises Sony owns, there's nothing that you wanted in return to bring to Microsoft to make this a two-way street.
Like
and now you want to release a game that's not even out yet to Game Pass, which is another dumb idea. We're going to get to that story soon.
Mm-hmm.
And your competitor. Did you forget Sony was a competitor? Did you forget what they tried to do when you were trying to buy Activision Blizzard?
Yeah, and Sony had a history of backstabbing both the customers, their vendors, and also their fellow sponsorships, wherever you want to be partners. You know, if I was going up against Sony, I would not trust them like that at all. To a great degree, even. You know, and
Yep.
Hellblade 2, I played the first Hellblade on the Xbox One, obviously, and did a recording of it years back. And it's about mental health and what mental awareness and all. Schizophrenics have, well, like myself, we have like a third eye that says we understand about suspicion and awareness and stuff like your instincts and all. Like you see my clips of gameplay, Call of Duty with the bombardment with the white phosphorus kills and all. That was out of my fucking brain doing that shit. If you think I'm gonna like go against my instincts to company like Sony to give this Hellblade 2 and all, like it doesn't make any sense, you know. I mean, schizophrenics do have right at least half the time, you know. So give us that break, you know. This lady in Hellblade 2, she knows what she's going through, you know. I don't know what place the matter, but still, but you get the point where it's like, you know, you can't just trust anyone, everyone with your product or products or IPs, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, do you have anything else to add, or are you ready to move on?
I just want to say though that, like, you know, the game Hellblade itself, it's a good game. I played the first so far to the second hour, if it's the third hour of the gameplay and all. I think if I die 2 more times, I have to go start over again, because obviously there's certain like times you die where you start over again. So you know, I have to take precautions in the matter. But you know, the man versus himself, the woman versus himself, you know, and it's like with this chick in Hellblade, you know, like, you know, it's some real deal stuff. Like she may not know what's going on half the time, but there are times when she fights for a reason and fight for a purpose. You know, this is Xbox's, like, you know, takeaway on, like, not to fight for their own products. You know, it sucks. You know.
Yeah.
So that's all I had to say about the matter.
Okay. So yeah, I got nothing else to add. So
yeah,
I think it's time to move on.
Definitely.
Next, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League's disappointing release led to a $200 million shortfall for Warner Brothers. The Rocksteady developed game came up short. Warner Brothers Discovery has once again commented on Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League's financial performance, which came in below expectations. CEO David Zaslav said during a briefing, as reported by VGC, that the poor performance of Kill the Justice League brought down the company's entire studios division, which encompasses not just games but also the film and TV divisions. Zaslav said Kill the Justice League had a disappointing release, going on to note that this latest quarter was always going to be a tough one due to comparisons to last year. That's because Hogwarts Legacy was released in February of 2023 and went on to put up massive sales numbers. In fact, Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game overall in the U.S. for the entirety of 2023, beating out even Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Warner Brothers Discovery CFO Gunnar Wendenfels put things into perspective further, saying the difference in financial performance between Hogwarts Legacy and Kill the Justice League led to a $200 million impact to the company's bottom line during the quarter. Back in February, during the previous earnings call, Weidenfels alluded to tough times to come, saying the poor performance of Kill the Justice League would be setting our game's business up for a tough year-over-year comp. Expectations were high for Kill the Justice League, which was made by Rocksteady Games, but the game didn't resonate, and at least on PC, players' figures have dropped dramatically. In the wake of Kill the Justice League's poor performance, Warner Brothers Discovery gaming boss J.B. Perrette has said the company will focus on core franchises and bring at least some of them to the mobile and free-to-play space, as well as continue to invest in live service games that people play and spend money on over long periods of time. They learned nothing. Rather than just launching a one-and-done console game, how do we develop a game around, for example, a Hogwarts Legacy or Harry Potter that is a live service where people can live and work and build and play in that world in an ongoing basis, he said. Some of WBD's upcoming games include Harry Potter Quidditch game and a Wonder Woman title from the makers of Shadow Mordor. So let's look at the comments. So they really are going to kill Harry Potter also.
Oh, wow.
Stick 'em Up goes, Warner Brothers Discovery has once again commented on Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League's financial performance, which came in below expectations. It didn't come in below expectations for all people who were paying attention, aka gamers. Gamers didn't want live service trash. Good single-player games have been absolutely killing it for years. Had they listened to what gamers were asking for years and focused on making this a single-player experience and made it more like the Arkham games, they would have sold so many more copies. I'll bet the people at Rocksteady have been sending out resumes for a while. I see a studio closure announcement coming. How can they afford to make one game every 9 years and have the game not sell is beyond me. Big Guy says in response, gamers absolutely want live service games. Those are the ones that make the most money. The thing is, they need to be good. Suicide Squad wasn't good. It wasn't even decent. And Omega goes, expectations were high for Kill the Justice League, which was made by Rocksteady Games, but the game didn't resonate. At least on PC, player figures have dropped dramatically. In the wake of Kill the Justice League's poor performance, Warner Brothers Discovery's gaming boss, J.B. Perrette, has said the company will focus on core franchises, so he's going over that part again. This shows how out of touch the top suits are if their expectations were high for this one, because reactions have been negative to this flop long before it was actually released. But their takeaway from all of this is to double down. So what do you think of them just not learning?
Rocksteady of all companies, been around for how long?
Well, I'd say WB, just to be fair.
Definitely WB, especially. They've been around WB as a whole, as an actual company for like at least 75 years now. They should know better from all their mishaps in the past and all. I mean, they fucked up on Looney Tunes in recent time with the what's it called, Cartoon Network deal and all, but that was like 5-7 years ago. So that's a blow to WB itself, but still it's another a loss. So in my opinion, I think that WB should have known better by now, not to create it as a live service game, but a single player game, or somehow some way to do like a co-op like that of Evolve, but better, because Evolve only lasted for not even 2 or 3 years of its inception on the market, Xbox and PS4 and all. So it sucks, but of course, obviously Evolve was different. It's a different company altogether, but still, it's like it's similar gameplay. Like you have different Suicide Squad members fighting alongside with each other to fight the Justice League, obviously. So it's, I don't know what to say exactly. They just blew it. WB,
Yeah, what I would have done if I had the power is I would have, first off, the story was awful. They would have had to rewrite a new story.
Right.
But the thing is, just from a gameplay perspective, they could have done so much more. They just gave everyone a gun and said, shoot, and shoot some more. They wonder why that didn't, and they wonder why that's failed.
And Batman was a huge blow to the company as well.
The thing is, none of the characters felt different from everyone else. You should have given like Harley Quinn her bat as her main weapon. Have that guy that looks like a shark, whale, whatever he is. Have him use his strength, just like to tear enemies apart, melee style. So like he beats enemies up or beats enemies to death. Harley Quinn has her bat. You can give one or both enemies or both the other members of the squad a gun. Because I'm just not familiar with those characters, So maybe you got 2 guys who use guns, one who uses a bat, and one who just uses his brute strength. And then that would have helped right there, because every play, or at least most of the people, would have felt different. It should have been single player with bots controlling the other. You should have been able to pick who you wanted to control, and then bots controlling the other players. But have people who want to drop in be able to pick up, take control of another character, and then drop out just as quickly when they want to stop playing. And then, like I said, you killed these superheroes that these people love. Wonder Woman was the only one who got a respectable death. So yeah, it's kind of like. You could have made a game where the villains won, but the thing is, everyone played just like everyone else, and I mean, how could you not? And I mean, even make it where like I remember when we saw the trailer, when they had like the evil Superman from Injustice, with his laser eyes focused on Suicide Squad. and like one of the guys I think asked Harley Quinn, "What did I miss?" And everyone just points at Superman. Um, it's like you could have done something where maybe Superman had, because I know in Justice 2, there you do have a choice where Superman wins. The evil Superman wins, turning most of the superheroes into supervillains themselves, and then have Suicide Squad kill the Justice League, basically come out on top because now they're the new heroes, even though they were mainly villains. You could have done something like that. Make it where you're fighting the villains that Batman was going against in Justice and in Justice 2, but make it where but take the road where Batman turned evil, because that is a choice in the game. But no, they again. See, I'm trying to think of a game that would be interesting. WB is just thinking Fortnite. This game needs to be more like Fortnite.
To appeal to the kids. That's their problem.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
Kids.
But I mean, Batman was like rated M for mature, I think. I can go check Arkham Knight. So it's not like this game was meant for kids. But this game should have failed. It deserved to fail, and now the executive thinking, well, we'll find it. We'll come back next time and make another live service game that people want to play.
Yeah, another $200 million mistake again, doubling it.
Yeah.
$200 million.
Yeah, you know what? If this company wants to go out of business, let them. It would be better off for it.
That would be especially themselves, Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers, it was a respectable company back how many decades ago? With the Looney Tunes, they made good money for it. Even at their own stores, they were selling in malls, like over in Long Island, New York, and all, and the Roosevelt Field Mall area, store and all. It was one of the biggest companies to be loyal to, based on the entertainment it was given out to the public over the decades. But now it's like the last 20 years now, they've been horrible on knowing what the public wants, and now we're starting to see this with the game industry that they took part in for God knows how many years, not decades now. And $200 million is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of money. That's almost a quarter of $1 billion we lost in a matter of not even 6 months after release of this game. Not even 6 months. It's horrible, man. I would definitely. I'm not saying go hit Agent 47 Hitman on someone, but I would like to find a guy who gave the green light to this game, because get rid of him. As a company man, as a owner of Warner Brothers, I should say, the one who has the head honchos and all, the executives. Of course, the executives don't know everything about video games, obviously, but I'm sure they have advisors. They have something to tell them. Okay, Mr. Warner Brother executive, hey, let's greenlight this game, and fall that mistake onto that advisor / greenlighter, want to call it, and take him out. Fuck this shit. Yeah, that's great. I mean, Agent 47, we had to take out the greenlighter. Diana was saying in a transmission.
Yeah. So I mean, again, they just didn't learn their lesson. Like I said, make a game that people want to play. If you made if you made everyone in this Suicide Squad kill the Justice League play differently, that would have been that alone would have helped.
Yes.
I mean, but then you had the technical issues, and it should have been like you have to play with bots, or unless you want to play split screen or online with friends. I mean, but no, they had. So I mean, like I said, this game's not even gonna last 11 months, most likely, and they deserve it.
Mm-hmm. There's always coming in the next few months from now.
Yeah. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I just want to say one more thing, or a couple more things if I can, though. Like I said, it's the Justice League. They should have based it off of the actual movie from 2016 and all. That movie was watchable, at least that. Not the reboot that came out back 3 or 4 years ago, but if you go back to 2016, during the time when the DC universe was more relevant back then, they can make something good out of this game for 2024. Because I hear that also that the reason why they kill off the Justice League for this game and all because they're gonna end the DC universe and reboot it for a 2025 for a new Superman movie for within the next few months to a year or so. So that's one of the reasons why they kind of did what they did with this game. So they cut their losses, start from scratch. Hopefully, this new DC universe, if you want to call it the new DC universe, next year or so, they'll make it a good, decent Justice League game or something based on that new game or new movie, I should say. So that's all I got to say.
Okay. So ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Hold on. GTA 6 website changes hinting at new screenshots has fans going feral. Rockstar's Instagram page has some interesting updates too. More Grand Theft Auto 6 news may be on the horizon as a recent update to the Rockstar Games website has sent fans into a frenzy. As spotted by X or Twitter, user GTA 6 _countdown, the developer's page was updated to include GTA 6 in its database alongside placeholder spots for 4 screenshots, cover art, and the release date via the gamer. Not much longer after the discovery was made, the website was updated to remove these details, suggesting they made their way online a bit earlier than the developer anticipated. As the social media user notes, the code with placeholders can still be accessed. Okay, so skip the messages. GTA 6 is in active development and grows closer to its release every day, and we know that Rockstar will have something more to say eventually. However, fans believe these screenshots will arrive sooner rather than later. It's been 5 months since the developer officially revealed the first trailer for its latest title, but more importantly, Rockstar parent company Take-Two Interactive will hold an investor call come May 16th. It's possible that the screenshots and potentially more information could be revealed ahead of the meeting next week. According to the madness is the fact that Rockstar recently purged most of its Instagram page, a strategy it used before revealing its first GTA 6 trailer. Reddit user OK_owl_9137 noticed that the page seems to be keeping only 14 posts live at any time, with many speculating that the number could point to a May 14th reveal. Rockstar has not announced if new information is on the way, so while fans have presented some interesting information, it's best to keep expectations low until the studio has something official to reveal. Just one GTA 6 screenshot is enough to turn fans into internet detectives, much less 4. So, of course, many were quick to spread reactions and memes. Okay? So, it's no surprise that Rockstar has been pretty quiet since first revealing GTA 6 last December. The series is known for its detailed worlds and smorgasbord of activities, and still not set to come to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series and not PC until some point in 2025. It could be nice to see some screenshots if an update is indeed on the way, but there's no telling when or if something more substantial, like a first look at gameplay, will arrive. For more, you can read us up on Schoolboy Q and T-Pain are involved in GTA 6. Be sure to check out why Rockstar's next game could be one of the most important video game releases ever. So, do they have comments? Yes, they do. Greasy Palms goes, "You know you're old when you're no longer anticipating the big new game coming out in a few years. You're wondering if you'll still even be playing video games. And you know you're really old when you're not even sure if you're going to live long enough to see the release date come." Jay Ruzo goes, "Exactly how I feel. I could care less about games announced years from now. Give me the surprise release and I'll be happy. I'll live my life till I see something I like. No more anticipation." And Tuna A goes, "It's not about how anticipated it is versus my age. I'm incredibly hyped for Monster Hunter Wilds, for instance. It's that GTA 5 just didn't do it for me in the same way previous titles did. I feel like G6 will be more of the same. Tropes rather than parody, a bombast rather than heart, an overly bloated world with a world full of multiplayer and to come later. It'll be good. It'll be great, but it's not exciting in the same way 3, San Andreas, and 4 were amazing." Okay, that was actually a surprising reaction. How did you feel about GTA 5? Did you like it like I did, or?
I wasn't anticipating for it as I used to be, like other titles like 3, San Andreas, and Vice City and all. But GTA 5 is kind of like a game that I was like, okay, let's see how it is. And the first couple of hours I played it, I didn't like connect with it properly. I don't know what to tell you, but it was like it was a horrible game. Obviously not. It was just that it was hard to connect to the characters because they're all over the place to do with the story at first. Because they Franklin, Michael, and Trevor. Michael and Trevor, they know each other because of the heists and stuff they did in the past. But Franklin out of nowhere, it was kind of like a left field when they had it connected in the beach area of that town whenever they passed by with Michael and and Franklin and all. So I guess you could say they have to build up these characters from scratch in the eyes of the GTA fans and myself, in my perspective. And then after, let's say, 5 hours into the game, it was more, okay, yeah, now I know where to go and at it, with this game. So it's more intuitive, more into it. Like, it's funny at times, you're laughing, it was something better than San Andreas, if not Vice City combined San Andreas and Vice City. So, and GTA 3 was just a revolutionary game of itself back in the 2000s, being the first ever game to combine genres into one, in a sense. So then all of a sudden San Andreas kind of like, it was an icing on the cake in its type of game playing that they did in the game, because it's connected to the story to some great degree. And you picked up on it very easily because of the street life, the hood life, whatever you want to call it. I was born and raised here in Queens, obviously. And 30 years ago, the crime was that bad, high. It was that bad. But it's relevant to me. That's why I was able to pick up on San Andreas so quickly. But GTA 5, it's out in what part of the San Andreas area, aka the Los Angeles area and stuff. So it wasn't connecting to me as it used to. So I guess the point is that you have to actually know your own background of your life to connect with certain games, especially with like GTA games specifically, and then that's where it comes home to you. It's GTA 6, of course, is going to be like in what area again, like Florida and Vice City and all. So it's kind of like going back to its roots type of matter. So it's it's just be very lively. I mean, even Andrew Tate of all people talked about GTA 6, who was even more of the MGTOW, Red Pill area of the YouTube community and stuff like that. So it's affecting everyone because all of us were gamers at one point when we were kids and all. Even Andrew Tate himself, if you want to bring him in as one example of that. So as time passes by, get close to that release date in 2025, 2026, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be that riots that happened with the free PS5s here in New York City the other year or two, back like a year ago or 2 years ago with that streamer and all. It's gonna be crazier than that, if we're not careful.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I disagree with you. I was anticipating GTA 5 when it came out in 2013. Because if you remember, it was actually supposed to come out in April, and then it got delayed till October.
Okay.
And then the online mode wasn't even available yet. Because when I reviewed the game when it first came out, the online mode wasn't available till November of 2013. And this is in the same year Batman Arkham Origins came out. This is the same year Saints Row 4 had just released the month before. WWE 2K14 was, I think, coming out. So there was a lot of good games around this time. So that's another reason it's impressive Grand Theft Auto 5 did as well as it did. Not to mention being one of the best-selling games of all time, or at least bringing in the most money of all time. But the thing is, I kind of look like the characters. Like Franklin was always like the CJ of the Grand Theft Auto. Franklin was like CJ from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Indeed.
Michael was maybe the Tommy Vercetti from Vice City.
Yeah.
Trevor was just when people decide to go on random rampages in Grand Theft Auto. Maybe if Diaz was a playable character, like if they had made, like they always made Liberty City stories and Vice City stories. What if they made a Vice City stories, but this time you play as Diaz, working your way to the top? I mean, and Diaz was still high strung and ready to snap at just as he was in the original Vice City. That's what Trevor was like.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that.
But yeah, I have to say, with GTA 6, honestly, like I said, I just don't see the money. I just don't see spending the money on consoles the way Sony, Microsoft, is doing things. Nintendo, no offense to them, I've thought about getting a Switch, but then again, it's like I said, you give me $500, I'm gonna spend it more on retro stuff than I would on current gen. So, it's a shame, but like I said, GTA 6 does sound like it has a good idea, and they really haven't let us down yet, except for Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, the definitive edition. That was awful. But yeah, so it's kind of like I want to see where they're going to go with this, because they never went with the female lead except for Catalina in Grand Theft Auto 3, and even then she wasn't playable. So I kind of want to see what they do with a female and a male lead 20 years later. So like I said, but like I have to admit, I'm in the same boat. I'm just not anticipating it like I was Grand Theft Auto 5. Then again, 2013 was 11 years ago. Things were very different back then.
Yeah, that's when, like here in New York City, the crime was starting to decline severely because of the gaming and crackdown on drugs and other paraphilia. It's called. And also try to be more humane to the criminals, to the jail dwellers, stuff like that. So that's what I hear from here in New York City over the years since 2010s and all. We had the first black president and all, and people are starting to feel more. I used to call it calmer after that event happening with the with the 2008 crisis and all. You name it, all sorts of stuff happened since then. And now it's like GTA 6 coming out 2025. That's gonna be post 2024 elections. So we're not sure how we're gonna see this expand into that time. To see how not bad, but how interesting it's gonna be where he'll react to that release of GTA 6. Because if people are acting crazy from a trailer earlier this year and all, we can't imagine what the official release will be like with GTA 6. So it's going to be one of the most anticipated games of all gaming history, I hear. So.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll just find out as we get closer to Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be interesting.
Ready to move on?
I'm ready, yeah.
Okay, next. Xbox president says every game from its studios will launch day one on Game Pass. Call of Duty could be launching on Game Pass. One moment.
Sure.
Yeah!
The fuck?
Okay, I'm good. While we already know that Microsoft...
That was unexpected.
While we already know that Microsoft's first-party games are included in Game Pass on launch day, Xbox leadership has once again reiterated that fact. In an interview with Bloomberg at Bloomberg Tech in San Francisco, Xbox President Sarah Bond said, "You're going to see some more really big game going into Game Pass later this year." The interviewer interjected to say from Activision, and Bond replied, "Across the whole slate." This suggests that the next Call of Duty game will be added to Game Pass on launch day, even though there are reports that Microsoft is internally debating on whether to go down that route. Some theorize that putting future Call of Duty releases on the Game Pass could negatively impact the game's sales. With its acquisition of Activision Blizzard, Microsoft is now under much more financial scrutiny to make good on the $69 billion cost. Microsoft is also reportedly considering raising the price of Game Pass Ultimate. Earlier this week, Microsoft shut down several of its studios, including Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Reportedly, they were closed due to a reprioritization of resources and that the timeline for their pitched projects were too far out. Xbox is airing a showcase on June 9th and then following up with a deep dive direct on the next entry of one of its franchises, which is heavily implied to be Call of Duty. The next game is rumored to be a Black Ops title and will be available on all platforms, including PlayStation. No comments. Okay, so
Yeah,
again,
earlier, dang, you were screaming.
yeah, I'm just screaming out of frustration because again, they again, um, what is the point? I mean, what are they going to eventually add Game Pass to $50 a month for Game Pass Ultimate? And is that how they hope to recoup these, putting all these brand new games from day one on Game Pass? It's not like she said. They they said what you're adding all Activision new games, and Sarah Bond goes, no, all new games from all new first party studio games on launch day.
Hmm. Go figure, right?
How are you going to make money? I mean, there's Game Pass can only bring in so much.
Yeah.
And you're gonna basically put all your games on the service. We already read the comment about a guy who just uses Game Pass when he can get free month trials, so he never really ends up paying for it. And that's how. And you're gonna add every new first party game when it launches on Game Pass and expect to make money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the lady, that's the president of Xbox, the black lady, if I'm not correct, did that interview the other week or so. I mean, she didn't see all that. Not saying she's not interested in her job, obviously, but she's not a gamer. She's not that in tune with what gamers wanted from the very start of it all. And if she plays a few minutes at a week with her whatever her time is as a president, all I mean, she might understand. Okay, we can't put every single one of our first party titles onto Game Pass altogether. That's just crazy at the end of the day. In the long run, it's not going to work well because you got people keep playing your Game Pass subscription, paying $17 plus a month plus tax and all. And
well, wait, they're planning on raising that now.
Yeah, it used to be $9.99 a month, and now it's going to be $20 a month. And it's like it's a hook, line, and sinker. That's what they're trying to do. So some Xbox players, at least that, like myself, and you, of course, maybe later on, Triple J. But me personally, I don't do Game Pass every month. I have done every month for since almost like at least 9 months now. Because prior to that, I was buying like the yearly subscriptions for like $50 to $65 a year, whatever it was, for the Xbox Online stuff, where they play online and stuff. But now they included the Ultimate Pass, where you get discounts and perks and point system, stuff like that. So it's a good layout of what they have for that service and all. But in the long run, it's like as a business model, it's like it'll work for some games and it'll work for only those games only. So try to put Call of Duty. I'm sure they probably did that for a reason. To put Call of Duty on Xbox by itself, if you buy more Xbox systems and the game itself on the Xbox. But they gave Sony a 10-year agreement, so they have 10 years Sony to come up with how they're going to make revenue more than Xbox or outbeat the Xbox competition, at least that. So I guess the point is to it all is that we have like someone that plays lots of games, like Phil Spencer, and then we have the president that's not even connected well with its player base or with the gamers. So it's a hit and miss at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's just if you bought this strategy, this financial strategy to the average person, they would look at you and probably scream like I did. Again, I was also doing that for comedic effect.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like, what we hear all the time is executives, we should start tipping these games that don't nickel and dime us to death. Raising costs are going, development costs are going up.
Yeah,
you need to raise the prices of games. And then Xbox goes, we're putting them all for free on our $17 or $16.99 subscription a month subscription service.
Or one bullet per 1 cent per DLC, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, what like I said, Game Pass. I don't think Game Pass is that successful, where it's gonna where people are gonna buy Call of. You could release 1 to 2 big hits. Obviously, if you want to keep Game Pass going, you have to keep adding new games, and you just can't sell games for what they're worth and then put them on Game Pass when they stop selling. But at the same time, you just can't put everything on Game Pass.
That's what the road takes a few months, years now.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just kind of, but if every game is going to be on Game Pass on day one that launched, that's going to cannibalize sales, and this isn't something that's new. This is something that's been a problem for years.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I just want to say, though, I'm not trying to bash the president. Obviously, she been with the company for how many years so far with Phil Spencer? Because Phil Spencer's been around since the beginning. I don't know if you want to call it the beginning with Microsoft and all, but at least Phil Spencer I can trust more with what he says. But the president's kind of like, she's out of orbit, but she's not that, she's not seeing the longer stay of this matter. So they have to regroup their efforts and see what they can do with what games to put on what Game Pass, how long, So that's what they have to do. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. So let's move on.
Definitely.
Because we still got a handful of stories to get through.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Square Enix will aggressively pursue multi-platform strategy and company reboot. Square Enix is rebooting itself aggressively, pursuing a multi-platform strategy that includes PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and PC in the process. This comes from the company's latest financial earnings report, which details Square Enix's 3-year reboot plan for long-term growth. Within that 3-year reboot plan, Square Enix has 4 pillars. Enhance productivity by optimizing the development footprint in the digital entertainment segment. Diversify earnings opportunities by strengthening consumer contact points. Roll out initiatives to create additional foundational stability. Strike a balance between shareholder return and growth investment when allocating capital. As part of this plan, Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs, according to the financial report, especially in regards to major franchise and AAA titles, including catalog titles. It will build an environment where more customers can enjoy these titles. It continues, possibly alluding to multi-platform release for future Final Fantasy games and more. This strategy switch-up follows reports that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a PlayStation 5 exclusive RPG that launched in February, underperformed. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth followed in the footsteps of its predecessor, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which launched exclusively on PlayStation 4 in 2020, and Final Fantasy XVI, which hit PS5 last year, although it's set to release on PC sometime in the future. Square Enix also says it will devise a platform strategy for SD, Smart Devices PC browser portfolio that includes not only iOS and Android, but also the possibility of PC launches. It continues. Furthermore, the group will strive to maximize the acquisition of new users when launching a title and that of recurring users after storing management of game operation. Throughout the financial reports, Square Enix uses the word fun as a focal point for the future development of its games. It says it wants to focus on the development of titles delivering fun that only Square Enix can create and build. In terms of numbers, Square Enix's net sales are up 3.8% year over year at $2.28 billion this year, with digital entertainment sales up 2.5% at $1.59 billion. However, its operating income, $209 million, is down nearly 27%. These numbers and subsequent strategy shift aren't surprising, considering at the end of April, Square Enix canceled some of its in-development games to be more selective and focused, which lines up with new philosophy. This likely means we'll be seeing more titles like Dragon Age 11, Final Fantasy 16, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on various platforms, and has games like Foam Stars and the Diofield Chronicle. Only time will tell, though, and Square Enix thinks it will take 3 years for this company reboot. What are your thoughts on Square Enix's new strategy? Let's check out comments. So let's see. Julian Watta goes, better to attempt a pivot than just to immediately start cleaving jobs. Zangmaster goes, look, you're going to want our games on your platform. It'd be a real shame if something were to happen to your platform. A real shame. Kabish? And
It's a Grand Theft Auto Hitman. What the hell?
Ashbad goes, waiting 2 years to port to PC is not aggressive. So what do you think of this new strategy? What do you think of this new strategy? Is it going to help their sales that have been down, or
it will help in the short term, in my perspective, at first, and then everything after that will be unpredictable. Like, we're not sure what's going to happen after, let's say, a year after doing this proposal. Because if you were to have all your Final Fantasy games on all other platforms, it'll boost up sales on this launch day and all over time. But then after, let's say, a couple of years after this release and all these games, it's kind of like it's going to be sporadic. You know, it depends on what's going to happen. Are you throwing other features like DLC, or it's going to be anniversary edition, or year one edition, or day one edition, whatever it's called, that type of stuff. So Square Enix, you know, they're known for doing that system called Squaresoft back in the day of the 1990s of its Final Fantasy games, especially on Final Fantasy VII. So
the good old days?
Yeah, and for some strange reason, it transferred over from Nintendo to Sony PlayStation since Final Fantasy 5, Final Fantasy 6, give or take. And then since it's been on PlayStation Sony for about, forgot us how long at first. And then
when did Final Fantasy 7 come out?
1997, September.
And because I think when they released Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 4 in Japan, 2 in the States, as Final Fantasy Chronicles, that was on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of like when Final Fantasy went from Nintendo to Sony.
Mm-hmm. So
because after, go on.
I just want to say too is that Squaresoft, aka Square Enix, and now at the present day, you know, they did a good job in promoting their RPG games for how many years on a couple of the platforms, like the mobile games, stuff like that, with First Class Soldier, and then back like 2 years ago was First Class Soldier, and then they have Final Fantasy VII remakes since 2020, 2021, give or take. Rebirth came out a month ago, whatever. So more power to them. Then there's also Final Fantasy 16 that came out last year, earlier this year, I think it was. So it was basically like Square Enix started to expand its profit margins to other platforms overall for the sake of like boosting their sales in the short term, in my perspective. And then after that, it's just whatever, in my perspective. It's like, you're taking a risk now it's time to take it right now before it's too late, because the students being laid off from different companies, you don't want to be the next, studio or gaming company to be laying off people or to go out of business. So it's worse off, scenario. It's iffy, to go multi-platform for the first time in a while, other than in terms of Nintendo and Sony back in the 90s. But if you want to take that risk, go right ahead, Square Enix. It's your company. You deserve the sales. You deserve the exposure. I've always been there with Square Enix with its movies like the Final Fantasy VII movies and the games like Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII from 1997. Sooner or later, I'm going to get the remakes integrated for the PS5. If I get the PS5 system next month or so, to this friend of mine. So it's going to be like an interesting set of competition they're going to set for themselves against other gaming studios in the long term. But then it's like the economy, how it is in the United States, and all, especially, because Square Enix, yes, it's located in Japan, or its operations are in Japan most likely, but in the United States, like, we're kind of like, falling short on the economy and all. So they're going to take they're basically taking a big risk at this rate. That's all I got to say. So.
Yeah. I guess they figure they're just they're going multi-platform because just sticking to one is not working anymore.
Yeah.
So they're probably trying to get new players that at least have the money to buy games. So they're probably figuring, we're leaving a lot of money on the table if we don't jump to PC, if we don't. And I mean, could you imagine seeing Final Fantasy games in Steam, the Steam store?
Holy shit! Like Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and 9 all.
Yeah. So that I guess that's what they're doing. But at the same time, it's kind of like whatever we think they're doing, it's kind of like they should have done it by now.
Oh yeah.
Well, was it really that they thought our key was to be on one specific platform, exclusive to one platform, whether it be Nintendo during the 80s and 90s, or PlayStation since like 99 and the 2000s. My years might be off, but it's maybe. But at the same time, their games are good. It's not like their games aren't fun to play. At least a lot of people are liking those games. It's just they're not bringing in the numbers. But like Dr. Games 101 said at the same time, these games, it's a horrible time economy wise.
Yeah, if you get it back like 10 years ago, we put it on all platforms, across all the platforms. We're talking about Nintendo, what's it called? Nintendo GameCube and Nintendo Wii U and all, and as well with PlayStation 2 did, of course. So it's back then, of course, that could be worth it back then, but now it's like you're just taking a big risk at the same time. So
yeah, ready to move on?
If I can say this stuff about Square Enix at all,
Okay.
I want to say that I've been a big follower, not a big follower, but I've been following their Square Enix Squaresoft for years now through the games itself, like the Final Fantasy games and all. And I may not be there to buy every single Square Enix game, obviously, but I've seen the progression. They merged to a company back in the late 2000s or early 2010s. I was called Square Enix ever since. So it's Final Fantasy 13 and all. They had a good launch of that particular game. So it's I've always wanted to make sure they always do good. It's a very distinct. They have a distinct culture in and of itself with different idealized type of games. They always get better and better and better with certain games that come out over the decades. And it's hard. It would suck to see them go out of business. Once again, not once again, but to merge to some other company. So
Yeah.
that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna move on.
Definitely.
I got nothing else to add.
Understood.
Okay, next. Super Mario 64 player finally found a way to open that unopenable cabin door without cheats. A Cool Mountain mystery finally solved. Super Mario 64 players have opened a door that was previously believed to be unopenable, and they did it without cheating. Detailed by Panicoke 2012 on YouTube, Discord user AlexPalex1 was able to access the cabin door at the base of Cool Mountain by using a very specific string of moves and upset Mother Penguin via Tom's Hardware. Players will likely recognize the location as the same spot where many have dropped a young penguin off the mountain's cliff in the Nintendo 64 Classic. The cabin set just to the side of the penguin nest is where you can find Super Mario 64 unopenable door. It usually serves as an exit for Cool Mountain's first stage, Slip Slide Away, awarding players with the star after they complete the slide and walk through the door. However, Mario is unable to walk back through from the outside, as this half of the door is uniquely missing a doorknob and is blocked by an invisible wall. Anyone who's played Super Mario 64 has probably tried to walk through that door, even if they don't remember doing it. And now, after 28 years, a solution is here. Pennycoke's 2012's video walks players through the struggles presented by the legendary door and how AlexPalex1 managed to bypass them. While players have been able to use the Mother Penguin to make Mario clip through the invisible wall and near the door, they've never been able to actually use the door to enter the cabin. AlexPalex1's new method still guides the penguin up against the cabin, while backflipping in between the blue bird and the building just as others have done before. What they changed, though, is Mario's animation just as he comes into contact with the door's hitbox. There's no floor on the other side of the invisible wall that blocks the entrance, and unfortunately for our plumber friend, he needs to be walking when opening a door. Alex Palix 1 tricks the game by turning Mario around just before he falls, allowing him to briefly walk in midair long enough to use the door. The player can levitate for 1 frame when triggering Mario's turnaround animation. So even though Mario continues to fall through the floor, the door opens and sends Mario back inside the cabin. Voila! Players have finally solved a mystery they were never intended to solve, after nearly 30 years of work. Unfortunately, it looks like there isn't really a good reason for anyone to try and replicate Alex Palix 1's strategy. Entering the cabin from the outside does not benefit the player in any way other than providing an alternate entrance to the bottom of the ice slide. As Pentecoke 2012 notes, it doesn't seem to have any use as a speedrunning strategy either, so it's still quite a bit slower than simply taking the slide down from the top. So there are a few comments. Tag Gibby4 goes, 28 years later and people are still solving mysteries in this game. That's just bonkers. CJ87 goes, it's not really a mystery. It was never intended to be anything other than a door you couldn't open. And Odin BT goes, what happened to actual hobbies? It's not enough to just play games anymore. Now we have to scour every inch of a level for some silly bug or glitch for the sole purpose of being able to say, I was the first to do it. I love gaming, but I'll never understand this phenomenon. The whole reason I want to talk about this, it's something we would kind of, especially in the old days. Are you familiar with the level that they're talking about in Super Mario 64?
When I refer to that castle where you just enter off quest for the first time, and there's different like cabins or different like pictures on the wall other than the levels themselves. So, I'm familiar with that particular. I think the cabin itself where exactly is at, but I have an idea of what this player did and what's talked about here. So, and it's been 30 years since the release of this game. So it's like, people are still like, just looking for more glitches. It's like that Mario game, Super Mario Brothers. Not Super Mario, Super Mario World, where this one guy or one kid found out Star Road and said, "F you, fuck you" on screen, and the guy recorded it on YouTube. It's like almost 15 years ago. It was uploaded to YouTube. Still there, hopefully still there. And he still was pissed off. He was like, "What is this about Nintendo? Why you tell my kid fuck you?" I mean, it's like it was something like that. So I'm sure the developers must have hit some kind of glitches in the game for sake of like Easter egg hunting, you want to call it like that.
Right.
But nothing like what that kid experienced back decades ago. So it's anything's possible in games these days. Hell, I mentioned in a previous podcast or so, not too many podcast episodes ago, about how to make a Wario naked in one of those racing games.
Oh yeah.
So kind of
you had to bring that up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that was disturbing. Mention how they talked about it in that channel that's sponsored by other YouTubers. Rocketflyer, as one example, talked about he was the guest speaker of Digino Gaming. It's called Digino Gaming channel. And I stopped watching it for years now, but back in this time when I watched it, it was some interesting facts I never knew about certain games. So it's all about experimentation, consistency, and patience when it comes to doing these things. So it's let's see what happens for the next 20 more years for other games, especially Mario games like Mario Galaxy or perhaps Paper Mario. We never know 20, 30, 40. Hell, even 50 years down the line, someone could find out something different other than the game itself. So,
Yeah. I just have to say, this is maybe I can refresh your memory. This is the first snow mountain in Super Mario 64. I know there was another one when you got upstairs after beating Bowser. That second Bowser stage, the Bowser in the Fire stage. But this was the first snow level that you had. Like you jump down the ice slide, you complete it the first time, you get the star. Then the second time you jump down there, the mother penguin is down there. If you've returned her penguin, her son or her child penguin to her, she'll be in the ice slide. and she'll challenge you to a race. Those are like the first 3 stars. Complete the ice slide, return the baby penguin to this frantic mother penguin, and then when you go down the ice slide again, the mother penguin, who considers you a friend, wants to challenge you to a race down the ice slide to see who can do it first. And if you beat her fair and square, you get a star. Mm-hmm. If you don't beat her fair and square, or you use the shortcut, she'll know you used the shortcut, and she'll be like, "Come back when you want to race fair this time." That's like the first 3 stars in the snow level. Okay. And but the thing is, like, you could go through one of the walls that was set up, and that was like a little. It was basically to cut like half the ice slide. And what was annoying about racing this penguin that was your friend is like the penguin would try to force you into that into taking that shortcut by trying to slam you into that wall. So it's almost, yeah. So it's there were times like I took that shortcut and I didn't mean to, just because during that race. So it's, yeah. So that's the level we're talking about. I just think it's interesting because, you know, a lot of us did give up on walking through that cabin. Unfortunately, there's nothing there, even if you do walk through it. But, you know, it's just something someone was able to solve.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We'll move on.
Okay. Next. Mafia 4 development has started. Game to use Unreal Engine 5. We might all be waiting with bated breath for the GTA 6 official trailer, but that doesn't mean we can't set our sights on another franchise, specifically Mafia. Arguably a classic series, Mafia has been capturing the hearts of wannabe gangsters since the early 2000s. So much so that whenever hopes of a Peaky Blinders game rear their head, everyone says it needs to be like Mafia. It's an iconic template. That is why the news that Mafia 4 is in development is a cause for celebration. The 2K games that will be created using Unreal Engine 5 to the surprise of absolutely no one. It offers such crisp, sleek graphics few other engines compare to it, even more so since the Unity controversy. That being said, while all evidence points to Mafia 4 coming to a console near us in the future, there are no images to support that theory. Only a LinkedIn job posting that fans are certain is about Mafia. Unfortunately, as is the way with stories such as these, the job listing has now been removed, seemingly because the position has been filled. Despite not being able to see the listing for yourself, fans are taking the news as gospel, conveniently ignoring the layoffs that happened last year at 2K. I cannot wait for this game. I grew up playing Mafia 2, and I always have a special place in my heart, said 2012 Fly-By-Night. Another user allowed their enthusiasm to run away with them, saying, "Imagine if they add a nemesis like Shadow Mordor system, but with mob bosses, etc. Like you take over the city, but some random crews come in and try to attack and take over your properties. It gives players something to constantly do after the campaign is over. Kind of like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Because you always had the ballers trying to take over your territories."
Oh yeah.
In the words of a great baboon, it is time. Fandoms are fed up with waiting, even when they know it's worthwhile for the end result. We've seen that with Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, and how fans believe the DLC is further proof that the game launched too early. So, you were the one who wanted to talk about Mafia 4. What did you want to say about it?
Well, I mean, it's something just to understand for while it's still in development. And we didn't talk about it many months, about a year and a half ago, for a Mafia-related title game, because I didn't talk about the history of the Mafia here, the five families of New York and all. And yes, you know, they're no longer how they used to be, but they still have some kind of influence in certain other things like sports, like UFC and boxing and stuff like that. So the point is that, like, you know, it's you know, I heard good things about Mafia. I've always wanted to get the trilogy. I never really played the games, I will admit that. But I saw a trailer of it. I saw the game playing of it. It looked good, and you know, it's got a good resemblance on what the Mafia, especially the five families here in New York City, did during its height of its power stage, you want to call it like that. So it's you know, something that hopefully that when Mafia 4 about to release, hopefully if anyone hearing me from 2K Games, you know, just have like a sale, a decent sale for the Mafia trilogy to be on sale. Because I see them on sale for like $30, 25 at most, and that's about it. You know, I can't afford to after a while, but you know, if they ever have it on sale, you put it down to like $15. That'll be the best sale ever. You know.
Well, I don't know if it'll ever be that low. We are talking about 3 games in one.
Yeah, and all remasters too, by the way, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah. Yeah, they were remastered for Xbox One. But seriously, you didn't even get Mafia 2 when it was offered from Games with Gold?
I can't remember that though. I don't know. I think I missed that many months, years ago.
Okay. I used to have it. I don't know if I still have it now. But I did beat the campaign. Yeah, so I mean, if we were to go through, let's just say Mafia 4 was in development, where do you think Mafia 4 would take place? It would obviously take place in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
What gangster area do you think would have a lot to do? Like they kind of used New York with Mafia 1 and 2. Chicago in the 60s just wasn't that interesting. I tried to get into it, even though they had Vito from Mafia 2.
Yeah.
It just wasn't interesting to me. I tried to get into it. I just couldn't when I rented it from GameFly. But where do you think Mafia 4 would take place if it was going to happen like in the 70s?
Well, I did some research on different like factions, mafia groups, different gangs and stuff like that. So if they can't do like an all-in-one, a nice big story of it all, it gets spread out from Chicago to New York to L.A. and even Brazil. We want to bring in certain gangs in that area too. So like an international trade of sorts, and they create the conclusion to the mafia, and then they can do some kind of story from like 1970 to like 1990s, where John Gotti was arrested during the late 90s, thanks to Mayor here in New York City, Mayor Rudy Giuliani. He cleaned up the mafia groups and all. So if they could like make that based on a true story type of sense, to not wrap it all up into conclusion, but to create an ending, a true ending, like different endings on different types of gameplay you do in Mafia 4, that would be great. But it would be one of the biggest games to develop, though.
What about Shadow of Mordor, though? Like where they take the enemy system, like different bosses. Like if they killed you, bosses got stronger, so they were going to be harder next time you fought them. What if they did that, but like instead of bosses, it was like mob bosses? Like if you try to take down a certain mob boss and you fail, that mob boss is going to be stronger next time.
Yeah, because obviously they defend their turf, or to defend their operations. So it's a tighter, more deadlier type of grouping. You know, and mob bosses, you know, if they can avoid assassinations, avoid hits on themselves and stuff like that. So it makes them more powerful in a sense. So that would be good Shadow Mordor type of effect as well. So yeah.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, I wish I could say more about it in great detail, but I did try to read. Well, I didn't read the specific book yet, but there's a book called The Five Families: the Rise and Fall and Resurgence of the Five Families here in New York City. So I got the book for about, I would say about $15-20, the hardcover or the paperback. But I misplaced the book, so I got the Kindle edition the other day that was on sale through my credits and all. So I got it for about $2 Kindle price, because I already have credits under my account to buy these type of books and all, or e-books I call them. So give me a few months and I'll read up on it and see what's like back in those days. Yes, I did read newspaper news, like from the Gotti family, or the Gambino crime family was a big name under the newspapers back in the 2000s. So from the year 2001, 2000 into like 2005, I was reading the newspaper, like Newsday, Daily News. They've been like talking about the crime families since not every day literally, but like every few months or whatever. So I've been catching up, and also to understand more about this mob culture, because the reason why mobs are in charge or always have been in place, because they're supposed to be the mediators between the law and the people, in a sense. So
Joey D'Angelo, if I could say more about him, he was part of the Gotti, the Gotti Gambino crime family, I want to call them. You know, he was mentioned in on the radio show. They deleted the information. This is based on my memory, guys. There's this specific radio interview between Joey D'Angelo and Curtis Sliwa, Curtis Sliwa, he's the leader of the Guardian Angels in New Jersey, if not here in New York City. So these guys were in the same room together back as early as 2014, and talked about, and Joey D'Angelo was promoting his book at the time too. So, some strange reason, coincidence, years later, I try to look back on that coverage. I don't see it anywhere on the internet anymore. So if I'm talking out of my ass at first, and that's why I can't prove it anymore, because there's no record of it. So the point is that, like, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, guys, in this mafia culture. And it just was the fact that Judah kind of cracked down on that shit in the 1990s, 2000s. It's still resurgent. It's always going to be resurgent. So it's just be careful out there, guys. Something you got to deal with, and understand that not everyone's going to be a friend. So that's all.
Yeah. Well, the story of the first Mafia game is kind of like that. And that's actually one game I'd like to play, because while I couldn't get into Mafia 3, I always wanted to go back and play the original Mafia.
Yes.
But I do remember one problem with Mafia where it was just so dark. This might have been just because it was on PS2, so this was like not a definitive edition. This was the first launch of it. It just was so dark, so hard to see, and like the first level is like you're driving through. I think for both games took place in New York. So you're driving through something that looks like a New York street with another car chasing you of mobsters from a different gang, and and it's just so dark because like you're just trying to drive, doing turns, trying to lose this car that's following you, and it's but at the same time, then you become a member of the mafia when that mob comes after you the next day while you're doing your taxi job. That mob boss he helped said, if you ever have a problem, come to this restaurant. We'll help. We look out for those who help ours, and then you get fired, and then you join that family, and then you turn your back on that family, and you get killed in your old age. So yeah, that's. But like I said, that's the only thing with Mafia. I'd like to try the first game. I was able to play the second game through the campaign, so all the way through the campaign. So yeah, and I would love to see the Shadow of Mordor system in Mafia 4.
Indeed.
Ready to move on?
I just want to say one more thing about the story that I mentioned with the Curtis Sliwa and Joey D'Angelo. I have no proof of what I said just now, but take it with a grain of salt if you want to call it like that. Make sure that to find out, hunt the truth, as in Halo 5 will say. The Vince promo. I've always been intrigued by why is it that people commit crimes and all, and especially the mafia themselves, and they go back as far back as 1,000 years, 500 years ago in Italy and all. So it's it's something just to understand about the culture behind them, and always keep your eyes open on what you see, and because you may never know, they might never be there again. So I can't find the book, I cannot find the audio or even the interview, the video. It's crazy, and these people, I find them schizophrenic. That doesn't mean nothing's real, in my perspective. It's just that at the right place, the right time, with right set of connections. You never know. So
yeah. Well, it's kind of funny you bring that up. In Mafia 2, the first level you play is as Vito, working, fighting on part of, I think, of the American Army, forced to do it after committing crimes. And it's funny, you're about to be killed, and then the Italian army is told by a mafia boss to stand down. And Vito goes, "Why did the Italian army stop fighting? Because so-and-so told them to." He was that powerful.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, Yeah, so you never know. I mean, like I said, all I know is what I've seen in the Mafia games. So,
Yes.
so ready to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. Next, Ubisoft cancels the Division Heartland, but the Division 3 is still coming. Heartland, a free-to-play multiplayer game, is no longer moving ahead. As part of Ubisoft's earnings briefing, the company announced that it had canceled the Division Heartland. This was planned as a free-to-play multiplayer game spin-off. Ubisoft management said it decided to cancel the game as part of a wider decision to increase the selectivity of its investments. Development resources on the Division Heartland are now being reassigned to bigger opportunities, such as X-Defiant and the Rainbow Six series. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot said Heartland was not aligned with Ubisoft's business plans. Ubisoft management said on an earnings call that the company made a significant investment into Heartland, but declined to specify the game's actual budget. The game's cancellation came as a surprise to some, as some signs pointed to the game being nearly ready for release. Ubisoft allowed members of the public to play Heartland as part of a testing phase. There were plenty of gameplay footage and information available, and in the trailer above, Heartland appeared to be far along in development, though the reality of the situation is unknown. Although Heartland has been cancelled, Ubisoft is moving ahead with the Division 3. It's been some time since we've heard about the game, but it could show up during Ubisoft's Forward in June. Ubisoft is also working on the Division Resurgence, a mobile game that is slated for release later this year. In other Ubisoft news, the company just officially released Assassin's Creed Shadow and revealed it's coming this November. So let's go to comments. Ember_2_flame goes, one of my most anticipated games is to have before D3 comes. They choose to continue with X-Defiant. No one I know plays this game. Hope it'd be out this summer. I know many Division players on both Xbox and PlayStation that were waiting on this. First someone stole my goddamn laundry time, now they cancel Heartlands. What else gonna happen today? Sour news. Really sour. Bravacano goes, I was in the second playtest. It was almost ready then. Why the dicking around? We could have been playing it by now. And First Nate goes, coming soon, the Division 3 Heartland. Or the Heartland as Season Pass DLC for the Division 3. And I'll just read War Game Junkie. I am somewhat shocked at Heartland's cancellation. BGC reported in late November that the game was far enough to be rated in Taiwan. According to the things I've read about the most recent beta, at that point it was a decent game, although multiple people cited some of the same issues. It seemed like microtransactions were more central to the game than the other two Division games. 2. Some people thought Ubisoft hadn't quite decided if they wanted this game to be more cartoony like Fortnite or more grounded like the two main Division games. I hope maybe parts of Heartland might be incorporated into the Division 3. Now, I know you're not as big Division fan as I am.
Right.
But what do you think about the Division Heartland being canceled, but the Division 3 still safe, at least for now?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Heartland, I'm not sure where that's going to be set at, but hopefully that's a spin-off at best, And,
yeah, it was basically gonna. Heartland might be released as a multiplayer mode in the Division 3 for all we know.
Well, Division 1 and 2 is one based in New York City, Division 1, the second one in Washington D.C. So.
Yeah, so I wonder where the Division 3 is going to take place. That's something we talked about when we first talked about the Division games. I think when the news for the Division Heartland was first announced, we were like, why not make a Division 3? But where would it take place? You already did New York, you already did Washington, D.C. What would be
over in Texas with the Mexico border,
or maybe Pennsylvania, where Camp David is, was. Yeah, so I mean, I'm still, even if I don't have a chance to play it, I'm still interested in Division 3.
Oh yeah, I would still have time to play Division 1 and 2 when I can. Division 2, I think I already bought it for about on discount. I'm not sure. For so many years, I bought Division 1 and 2, obviously. But Division 1, I did play for about for a few hours by myself, and then Triple J and I would play it together for about an hour or so. Help me be able to beat the boss in the second mission, or the second ever a set of levels in Division 1. So thanks a lot for that, Triple J.
Yeah.
So it's
Speaking of which, I also do have the Division for sale, the first Division for Xbox One, if anyone's interested. I do have the Division 1 through Games with Gold. I can access it if I have the disc. So if like no one buys it, I can always play the Division. I do own the Division 2 digitally, so I could always play that also. So yeah, so I mean, I'm still interested in the Division 3, even if it's going to be on a console that I don't have, just because I want to see where they would go with it.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on.
Okay, 3 stories left, so we're running late. We're going late, but we're getting there. PlayStation Plus. I'm sorry.
I appreciate you guys listening in, and it's also still listening in, whether it's podcasts or on record. So,
PlayStation Plus Game Catalog Editions May 2024 revealed. Red Dead Redemption 2, Cat Quest, and more. Sony has revealed the full lineup of PlayStation Plus Games Catalog Editions for May 2024, which includes Red Dead Redemption 2, Cat Quest, Watch Dogs, and more. Announced on the PlayStation blog, a total of 13 games are joining the library. 10 in the games catalog available to extra and premium members, and 3 in the classic games catalog only available to premium members. While perhaps a thinner line up compared to recent months, the addition of Red Dead Redemption 2 will carry May's lineup a long way. It's worth noting this is actually a return to the service for Rockstar's open-world cowboy adventure, however, as it was one of the first games announced for the game's catalog 2 years prior. All games hit the service on May 21st in, 2 days. It's, wait a minute, I'm looking for the full list of all 13, okay. Wait, that's for April. Okay, maybe. Okay, so Red Dead Redemption 2 is Grand Theft Auto developer Rockstar Games takes on the Wild West as players take on the tale of Arthur Morgan as he tries to survive in America's unforgiving heartland. IGN deemed it a masterpiece in our review. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game of rare quality, meticulously polished upon open world due to the Outlaw era, we said. DCave Inc. deploys you into the world of high-stakes subterfuge, working for a private corporation with complete monopoly over the international espionage market. Rival spies are after the same objective as the player, however, and each one of them is equally skilled, cunning, and well-equipped. The Sims 4 City Living is an expansion of the beloved simulation game, and while the base version of Sims 4 is required to play, this is also permanently free. City Living lets players take their Sims to the city and explore everything it has to offer, from busting action right outside the front door to unique situations that come only with apartment living. Crime Boss Rocky City is a stealth action first-person shooter where players look to become the leaders of a criminal underworld in 1990s Florida. IGN didn't rate it very highly, however, giving it a 4 out of 10 in our review. Crime Boss Rocky City is hokey charm that is nowhere near strong enough to offset its bugs and repetitive design, and totally squanders its kitsch cast, we said. The latest installment in a long-running strategy game series, The Settlers: New Allies, lets players discover new worlds and build sprawling cities as they take control of a band of settlers who have fled cataclysmic events in their homeland to seek new lands to settle, explore, and conquer. On a somewhat similar note, albeit with a sprinkle of sci-fi, Stranded: Alien Dawn is a planet survival sim pacing the fate of a small, marooned group in the player's hands. Promising compelling and immersive strategic gameplay, players must make vital decisions to protect their survivors. Cat Quest and a sequel, the aptly titled Cat Quest 2, will both be available through the PlayStation Plus games catalog. Both 2D open-world role-playing games set in a world full of cats. Players must embark on a quest to save their catnapped sister in the first game, while the second sees them fight to save the world of cats from advancing dog armies. Classic LEGO goodness arrives through the LEGO Movie 2 video game, which lets players bash and build their way through the events of the film. Alien monster invaders have left Vicksburg in ruins and taken Emmett's friends, and it's now up to him and his team of heroic characters to go beyond their world and save their friends from the strange inhabitants of the Sistar system. Watch Dogs is the first open-world action game set in the fan-favorite franchise, kicking things off with solemn protagonist Aiden Pierce, hacking with like a smartphone his way through Chicago. Watch Dogs is an excellent open-world action game with some unique hacking magic that makes it a memorable experience, IGN said in our 8 out of 10 review. On the classic games front, 2 Extreme was promised to be a high-flying sports game where players could snowboard in Japan, inline skate in Las Vegas, mountain bike in Africa, skateboard in Los Angeles, and more. Unfortunately, however, it couldn't stick the landing, as when the PlayStation Classic was re-released from PlayStation Portable, IGN gave it a rare 2 out of 10 in our review. Another PlayStation Classic, and one that received a better rating from IGN, comes in G-Police. This 1997 title saw Jeff Slater join a voluntary police force after an unspeakable corporate cover-up caused his sister's death. As a helicopter pilot, players must fly through 35 grueling levels to take their revenge. With a fear for the dramatic and attention to detail that should impress even the toughest of critics, G-Police is a rock-solid example of great gameplay, we said in our 8 out of 10 review. Finally, Worms Pinball rounds out May 2020's 4 PlayStation Plus Classic Games Catalog Editions and does exactly what it says on the tin. This 2000 title is a mix of pinball and the Wacky Worms characters, offering a table-sporting 3D LED displayed subgames and parallel objectives, transparent ramps, user-controllable moving gadgets, bounce and flip passes, bang-backs, death saves, and more. So, let's get some comments. General Chaos goes, nice, didn't get a chance to finish Red Dead Redemption 2 when they moved it. G-Police was an underrated game back in the day. And Give goes, I love that game. It's probably my nose-tinted nostalgia talking, but I thought it looked amazing back in the day. The game devs made a game called Colony Wars I also like. And Spiffy87 goes, wake me up when Rockstar decides to finally put out a next-gen update for Red Dead Redemption 2. So, were you interested in any of the games that I read about?
I forgot all of them by now. How many games have you mentioned so far?
Like 13.
Oh, wow. I don't remember any of it. That's the problem. I haven't played PlayStation like that in a while. I mean, I do have my PS2 system, PS3 now, obviously. And I hope I get the PS5 sooner or later, but no. Yeah.
Well, I would just get PS4 unless you're really looking to play Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I gotta say, Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously, it's great. I did buy that, so I do own it digitally. I gotta say, I'm surprised that they released 2 Extreme. They should have just went with the sequel, 3 Extreme, if 2 Extreme was so bad.
What is 2 Extreme?
3 Extreme was basically a racing game of skateboarding, bicycles, and rollerblading. You could do any one, but those races all race together. So it's like a smorgasbord of races. And you could also do tricks like, jump over trains or jump off ramps. So it added that trick racing. Like, you still had to come in first, but you also had to pull off tricks when you had the opportunity. You could also punch players off their you could punch players as you pass by them.
It's like some 1980s Saturday TV shows.
Well, it was the original PlayStation game, one I owned a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it was a skateboarding, biking, and it's kind of like Road Rash, except you didn't have to be on a bike at all. You could be rollerblading or skateboarding, and instead of using chains or 2x4s to attack people, you just punch them as you went by them.
Okay. Because if I remember correctly, back in the 1980s, early 2000s, every Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning or afternoon, they have these biathlons or these tri-extreme type of sports shows going on. So it's kind of interesting.
I gotta say, G-Police sounds really interesting. At least for, I don't know how easy the helicopter flying would be, but G Police seemed interesting too. I usually don't care for flying games, so that's the one where you're a helicopter pilot.
Oh, it's like Thunderstrike, Operation Phoenix for PS2.
Yeah.
Because I have a copy of that game called Thunderstrike for years now. So.
Okay. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Let's move on.
Okay. Next. You can play all of Assassin's Creed Shadows offline, but you need a connection to install it. You will need an interconnection to install Assassin's Creed Shadows, but after that, the entire experience can be played offline. Ubisoft has announced the company did so after word online spread that Shadows requires a mandatory online connection to play the game. Following the reveal of Shadows yesterday, which showcased the dual samurai and shinobi protagonist, will be controlling in 16th century feudal Japan. People noticed wording in pre-order listings and elsewhere that seemingly pointed to the game requiring an always online connection. This frustrated fans of the series, especially given Shadows, like its recent predecessors, is a single-player game. However, that's not the case, and Ubisoft released a statement today to clear the air. Hey everyone, we wanted to share some of the early information on the upcoming launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Following some questions we noticed in the community, the statement reads, Assassin's Creed Shadows will not require a mandatory connection at all times. An online connection will be needed to install the game, but you will be able to play the entire journey offline and explore Japan without any online connection. We are super excited to bring Assassin's Creed to feudal Japan on November 15th when the game releases, and we cannot wait to show you more along the way. As you can see, it's clear Shadows is a game you can play offline, but only after connecting to the internet once to actually install the RPG. Assassin's Creed Shadows hits PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Amazon Luna, PC via the Ubisoft Store and Epic Games Store, and Mac, with Apple Silicon via the Mac App Store on November 15th. How do you feel about needing internet to install Assassin's Creed Shadows? Let us know in the comments below. Let's read some comments. Smack goes, we're finally going to make the AC game Smack, and millions of others have wanted it for over a decade. I bet they'll be excited. Now, how can we fuck it up? Quoting Ubisoft. Zangmaster goes, ugh, stuff like this is not the worst way up there. Doesn't make sense to need any internet at all for a single-player game. And Julian Whatta goes, physical discs no longer contain the entire game and require download. When you buy physical these days, chances are you're really buying is the box to put on a shelf and a download code in the form of a disc. Which I which I don't dispute. So what do you think of this Assassin's Creed game needing to be online to download it, but then you can play it offline all you want?
It's kind of weird. Is this the first ever Assassin's Creed game to be installed on day one patch or something?
No, it's just you need online connection to install, and then you can take it offline. It's not a day one patch. It's just installing the game. Even if you get the disc, you have to be online to install it.
Well, I can understand if you have to get a digital copy of it, but if you get a disc, you shouldn't need a day one patch or be forced to use the internet altogether just to play the game on a disc. You know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's just more trying to push us to a digital world, digital only gaming world.
Yeah. But, I mean, for me, as a person who lives in the city and all, it's okay for me to do online gaming most of my time, obviously, because I have a better connection by default. But if someone from like Idaho, Wyoming, like those areas, the Midwest and all, like it is very little connection, or there's like one decent internet system in their area, and that's about it. And their internet can be like called off days, if not at least hours on end. So what about those gamers in those areas, those parts of the United States, So.
Yeah, it's just more trying to put people towards, again, they're trying to push this digital only future on all gamers. They're not really taking what, like I live in Georgia, Dr. Games 101 lives in New York. We have reliable internet. Heck, I need reliable internet for my job that I work at. But it's not. But that's not the case across the entire country. And then think about other countries.
Like Brazil,
You know,
or
yeah.
Philippines, or even the North Vietnam. Well, I'm not sure about North Vietnam, but definitely South Vietnam. Like those areas, Southeast Asia, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is I don't remember Assassin's Creed taking place in Japan. That's definitely interesting. But I just hate how they're making it online a requirement, even if you have a physical disc to install it.
Hmm. I think another reason why too that this Assassin's Creed game is also not being received very well, especially with the trailer that came out earlier this month, was it's going to be a black samurai, you know, from one of the well-known periods back during the feudal Japan era of the 16th century, if not the 15th century, one of those two centuries, and that's during the Meiji period. If I remember correctly, the Meiji period. I think we confused the period stuff. So excuse me, but
No, but you're right. It is a black samurai, but it's based on a real samurai.
of course, yeah.
So, but we just wonder how. But you know, I just don't trust modern day Ubisoft. This isn't Ubisoft from 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So that's, you know, like I said, if you're interested, it's coming out in November. But you better have a good, stable internet connection if you're picking up the game physically or digitally.
Yeah, but then what they should do for another 10 years, at most 20 years from here on out, any gaming company, any studio or console, you name it, like they should like wait until everyone has internet, constant internet, and then you have everyone onto all digital, you know, systems. You know, that's fine with what I mean by that. But not like the sectors Google Stadia didn't do so well with its
Right.
the all online access, you know. No, not everyone had that kind of connection, not that consistent connection. So that's kind
Right.
of stupid, you know, on Google's end. If they wait another 20 years from now, oh yeah, it will definitely work way better and more connective than ever before. But like you know, they were 20 years too soon to release that system, or to call it system. So
Yep.
you know, let gamers be for now. You know, we're all over the place in the United States. Yes, 50% of the eastern part of the United States is, you know, the densely populated areas, obviously because of the population of cities and all. But the other half, the eastern portion, it's like 10%, 20%, give or take. So you get tough because the climate, the terrain, and all. So the internet's not going to always be around those areas, obviously. So it doesn't make any sense to have that, you know, have that all-out digital access, you know. As a business
Yeah.
person, would never do that to my own customers, especially if they live in like you know, like I said, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, even you know. So
Yep. Yep. I agree. Ready to move on for the final story for tonight?
oh yeah, definitely,
Okay.
it's gonna be interesting.
Yep. Despite speculation, Microsoft will reportedly launch this year's Call of Duty on Xbox Game Pass. Microsoft reportedly planning to launch this year's Call of Duty on its Game Pass subscription, according to the Wall Street Journal. This follows reports in previous weeks indicating Microsoft and Xbox were mulling over whether or not to launch the next iteration of the franchise on Game Pass, out of fear it might hurt sales. After acquiring Activision Blizzard for a colossal $69 billion last year, fans and analysts have speculated about how Microsoft will handle the Call of Duty franchise moving forward. It will obviously be a big draw for Xbox Game Pass, pulling in new subscribers, but most every year, the new Call of Duty is the best-selling game of the year, save for last year, where Hogwarts Legacy took that ground, and a Game Pass launch could affect those sales numbers. However, this new report from the Wall Street Journal seemingly clears the air around that topic. Microsoft plans a major shakeup of its video game sales strategy by releasing the coming installment of Call of Duty to its subscription service, instead of the long-time lucrative approach of only selling it a la carte, the story reads. Of course things could change, so we'll see what happens. It's like we will be learning what the next Call of Duty game is next month as part of the gaming showcase summer that includes Summer Games Fest, Ubisoft Forward, and an Xbox Game Showcase, followed by a secret direct that is probably focused on Call of Duty. What setting do you hope the next Call of Duty takes place in? Let us know in the comments below. So let's look at some comments. So Lancelot goes, I'm sure we'll find out for sure during the secret showcase in June. Jay Lee goes, the only change gamers will see with Xbox owning Call of Duty is it will now be in Game Pass, in addition to all the places it's been previously, and possibly on Nintendo. Zangmaster goes, I think the hope is that everyone normally says it will buy Game Pass. Could totally work. I wonder if that will net them more money long term than sales on Xbox PC. Personally, I'm not into it, and the last one I bought was Modern Warfare on the PS3. Well, PS3, LOL. So, what do you think the next Call of Duty game is going to be?
If I recall correctly, there's been like not speculation. There's been reports that I talked to other gamers about online. They say that it's going to be like another Black Ops game this year, if not this year, next year. And if it's this year, it's going to be based on Vietnam again, if not the Gulf War. Actually, that's what I hear too. So for the next couple of Call of Duty, it's going to be either another Black Ops game and or a Gulf War based game. And I'd be interested to see how they're going to do with the Gulf War. You know, I'd be interested to see stuff like that. They haven't covered that yet for the last 20 years almost. So they're over 20 years now. So personally, myself, obviously we know that Activision was bought by Microsoft, aka Xbox, and they are trying to take advantage of this. So I hear that also there's statements going around saying that they're going to put all the previous Call of Duty games onto the Game Pass as well. That too. That's just more speculation than it is of a statement. So, and you know, you hear from people. My friend for 14 years now told me this stuff in recent times. So it's kind of like, you know, he did his own research too. So it's kind of weird that, you know, what's it called? Call of Duty games are coming to the Game Pass and all because, you know, Sony themselves got 10 years left for their own Call of Duty outlet, for their own Call of Duty games on their outlet. So what's going to do within the next 10 years to reprice themselves for another franchise or IP to overcome that this battle? So it's going to be iffy for after 10 years from now, you know, for Sony.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Game Pass is, you know, they're struggling with Game Pass. That's why they started moving it to other platforms. And it looked like Xbox was dead, and Game Pass was the only thing that was going to be moving on. But I mean, like I said, you know, it's going to hurt sales. This isn't the first time. There have been times in the past where games that were added to Game Pass had hurt sales because people were like, "Why buy the game if I could just buy a Game Pass subscription or get a free Game Pass subscription?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Call of Duty in the Gulf that would be cool. But I just don't agree with putting it on Game Pass right away. I mean, you spent $69 billion. You got to make that money back somehow. Game Pass, even with the other titles, is not going to make it back. That's really all I have to say.
So yeah, we talked about the earlier.
We did talk about it earlier. Yeah.
But it's gonna be weird for 10 years from now. It's gonna be something's gonna come up where Sony got to bypass that competition, you know, for them to dominate again. Because at one point, PlayStation, they lost the war. They lost the battle on the Gen 7 consoles to their PS3 and Microsoft's Xbox 360. And then all of a sudden, they won Gen 8, which is their PS4 and Microsoft's Xbox One. So we're going to see by next generation of gaming how Sony's going to overcome this leap of faith, you want to call it like that. So it's see what they're going to do. It'll be like Shane O'Mac, you know, Shane Man doing the leap of faith on The Big Show, and Backlash 2001, or are they gonna just play it smartly and just tiptoe around the matter?
Yeah, they're not really playing it smartly. So I have to say that. Yeah, so, but I guess we'll see how things go with the first, since this is going to be the first Call of Duty, whatever it is, released on Game Pass on day one.
Or previous other games like the Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 from 10 years ago,
Right.
Or even Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2, or hell, even World at War, FFR,
Right.
I played all those games, so played the campaigns and all, and they're good. They're very consistent with what they do. Activision, Blizzard, Treyarch. What's the other companies that are behind making Call of Duty games? Sledgehammer. So.
Yep. So, I mean, this next one's coming out in November. We're probably going to find out next month sometime with all the gaming conventions coming up, or showcases, rather, coming up.
Yeah, Microsoft's Xbox's showcase coming up June 9th, I believe.
Yeah, we got Summer Games Fest. They got a Ubisoft showcase. They got a Secret showcase. So
showcase as well.
Yeah, so we'll definitely find out probably around the summer what where this game's going to take place, what time frame, what decade.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. And that was the end of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I hope you enjoyed episode 98. Our next episode will be we're going to try to start at 9 p.m. on June 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern. So Sunday, I don't know what time I'm going to be getting home from church, because it's going to be kind of like an all-day thing, so I probably won't be getting home till like 2 or 3. I'll probably be getting home later than normal. Do you have any plans for tomorrow, Dr. Games 101?
For literally today's Sunday from this recording.
Yeah.
So I got a doctor's appointment surprisingly on Sunday. It's kind of weird though, and I hope there's no Agent 47 at that in my office, because it's suspicious. Why would my own insurance/doctor clinic have like an appointment on a Sunday? I mean, if it's at a hospital, obviously it's one thing, but this is at a clinic of all places, a very small clinic. So, pray for my safety, guys, and I'll end up on Agent 47's list, and I'll survive and be safe. Other than that, comes down to my recordings and all. I'll resume more recordings for Cyberpunk 2077, hopefully sometime this week. Today's a Sunday, so perhaps I'll do more of Dragon's Dogma like I did the other few days ago. So whatever possible this week, of course. Just tune in on my channel.
Yeah, Sunday, I'm definitely going to release another Total Extreme Wrestling 2020 video. I have it all ready to go. I just have to record it. I got the whole event booked, which is SmackDown of Week 1 of August in 2001, the Invasion era. Also, I'm not going to be at work on Monday. I do have to call out Sunday night into Monday morning when it's technically Monday, because I do have to go to court regarding my mother's estate. So I'm taking off Monday for that. But the good news is I'll be able to stay up Sunday night and Monday after the court case, where my mother's estate's going to be decided. Obviously, if things go well, I'll probably be online afterwards, because work will be mostly over by that time. So it's not even like I'm going to be able to go back after court. So Monday's kind of a day off, except for the afternoon court thing. But like I said, so I might get some more. Thanks. I might get some more. I might get some more work done on my website. Adding codes, reviews, stuff like that, and that also might mean more gameplay videos as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Follow me if you did, and until next time, good night, everyone.
Hey guys.